my laundry out of the way. There we go. I think we're live. We are live.
Are we live? Yeah, we are live.
Laundry basket out of the way. Hey, we are live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 12 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Oh, there we go.
We're good.
We're good? Okay, we are good. Yes, episode 12 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. It's hard to believe, Tony, that we are up to episode 12 already. It is Sunday, February the 17th, 2019. Tony, how the hell are you?
I'm doing bloody fantastic. How are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Just worked out today, worked my chest today, and then went for a run this afternoon, and I'm not feeling too bad.
Very good. How many miles did we get in today?
Oh, it was 5 kilometers, so that's only about 3 miles, I guess.
Oh,
but yeah, no, it's a good run.
Yeah, I did 8 this morning. I'm trying to, my goal is by the time we turn 40, by the end of May, I want to be up to a 10-mile run in about 90 minutes or less.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I did 8 today in an hour and 28 minutes, so that wasn't too bad.
That's really good.
You know, so I'm hoping, I mean, it's very ambitious. So if I can continue to increase my speed, I should be able to kind of ride that line here over the next few months, especially because as it get warmer. I don't know about you as a runner, but when it's cold out, I'm not as good as I am when it's warm.
Yeah, no, it is winter here in Canada right now in Toronto, and the sidewalks are. But it's that kind of thing where there's snow on the ground, but we had a really warm day where a lot of it melted, and then it got really cold at night. So then the remaining shit froze. So now the sidewalks are clear of snow, but that remaining kind of shit that was on the sidewalks froze. So now it's like icy. So I'm running on the side of the road, not on the sidewalk, because I don't want to. It's just really hard. I'm not really worried about slipping as I am about the uneven. Like you're constantly going like this on all and you can't really get a good vibe, a good rhythm. So yeah, it's kind of I like running in the fall is my favorite time of year to run, when it's nice and cool. But there's no snow. It's just like the Midwest, it's just like a beautiful fall evening. You go out maybe with a hoodie and something on, and I love that. In the dead of summer, I can't stand it. Can't fucking stand it. Oh.
Yeah, I told you, Meg, my girl, she's a marathon runner. I mean, she's like hardcore. Like she does the Boston Marathon. She does all the New York Marathon stuff. She travels to all different locations and does different types of marathons around the United States. I mean, she's like die hard into that stuff. And she's like, well, why don't you come run with me sometime? Like, yeah, after like 10 miles, I'm like, she's like, I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm tapped.
That sounded like one time my girlfriend was training for a half marathon. So this is a few years ago now, but we went out running together. Now she's a better long distance runner than I am in terms of.
I think that's females
being able to. I think it probably is. She's really like in a sprint. I think I can beat her, but in terms of the long distance kind of, she was doing I forget what they're called now, but she was running really, really fast, and then she'd kind of pace it out, and then she'd run really, really fast and she'd pace it out, and I'm like, okay, well, let's do it. By like halfway through it, I'm like a cramp in me and things like that, because I can run that far, but I'm at the same pace all the time. Right. So I'm just like, I'm not used to like sprinting for, a minute and then slowing down, then sprinting for a minute and then slowing down and then sprinting. I'm like, okay, I can't do this. You just go without me.
Yep.
Just go. It was funny. But yeah, but anyway, so here we are, episode 12. Today we are going to talk about Halloween 3,
Season of
the Witch. This has been a long time coming. Many people have wanted to know my thoughts on this sequel. It's not a sequel I talk a lot about, primarily because it's not really a sequel that I watch a lot. Although Tony said he watched it twice yesterday to get himself reacquainted, and I watched it once this morning. And before we touch on Halloween 3, however, is there anything? There were a couple of things Halloween related that dropped this week that do you want to quickly touch on before we dive into Halloween 3, Season of the Witch?
Yeah, let's show the kiddies at home my new throw blanket. I know you are envious and jealous. You know you want it. It's a VHS throw, the old school VHS for the original Halloween. Saw this online, and I sent this bad boy to Dave because I knew Dave would appreciate it and probably get himself one. I'm not a big like a collector of things. As you can see, most of my stuff is really like vinyl records. I collect like the novel books and things like that from Halloween. Never got into like, the action figures and whatever, like the stuff that you've got. But I saw this and I was like, this could be a really cool, throw to have, maybe like in the fall or whatever, or something like that. And sure enough, it was great. If you guys want to know or get yourself a copy, or not a copy, but if you guys want to get a Halloween throw blanket, just hit me up on Instagram or hit Dave up, and we'll definitely hook you guys up with the info to get it. It's badass. It's nice. It's cozy. I'm gonna have it on me all night tonight during the stream.
Yeah, I think it looks great. And Tony, when he sent me the link, I was like, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. I definitely have to get myself one. I haven't got myself one yet. But it's on the list. It's on the list. I would love to have one because it's just cool. It's not necessary, but it's just fucking cool.
Well, yeah, like I told you, with October rolls around, I have that hybrid of like harvest and Halloween decor that goes up around the house. But anytime I was looking for like a throw blanket, I always found like it was just too girly, nothing that I found that I would want to just throw over the couch, and grab, if I'm watching like a scary movie or something like that. And then I saw this, I'm like, perfect. This is exactly what I want.
Exactly. Well, it's kind of like, it's like this pillow that is sitting behind my back right now.
Exactly.
You don't need it. Exactly. Maybe in some ways it's a little tacky, but you know what? I don't fucking care. Okay, also in Halloween, let's quickly just kind of touch on this and then move it out of the way because I already did a big video on this anyway. Jason Blum, this week, there was an interview released from Moviefone where Jason Blum casually he said that that they're not in the middle of making a Halloween movie right now, primarily because they don't have the sequel rights to do so, but that he is totally game to make 10 more. And of course, the interwebs and the online social media, or not, well, I guess that too, but the media outlets ran the headlines of Jason Blum wants 10 more Halloween. Jason Blum wants 10 more Halloween. I'm reading this, I'm thinking, fucking Christ. And I did a video on it where I basically said not to take it literally. He doesn't literally mean he wants 10 more. He's just essentially using hyperbole to just let everybody know that he's still excited about the franchise, because 10 is that number that you just toss out there. It's such a round number that it's odd if he was being specific, right? Do you know what I mean? So he's just simply saying, look, it's like saying I'll be there in 10 minutes. Fuck, I had like 10 coffees today. Oh, I'm so full. I had like 10 burgers. Yeah. And it's that hyperbole you toss out. He doesn't want to piss anybody off. He doesn't want to let anybody think that despite the fact that they don't have those sequel rights, that but don't worry, I'm still excited about the prospect of more, like 10 more. Sure, it's an off the cuff remark. All those people that ran those headlines, whether it's MovieWeb or Screen Rant or whatever, it's lame. And like I said, I come from a media family. My father was a journalist, so real journalism nowadays is very far and few between. And that's not to say that headlines have not always been about, whetting your appetite and getting you to open that page. I mean, of course, that's what it's supposed to do. But when a headline is so blatantly misleading, because I cannot comprehend that these people that are running these headlines are that dumb. And it just feels, it grinds my gears because I'm like, I know what you're doing. Like you know he didn't literally mean that. Well, I know, but it's going to get us a lot of clicks, ad revenue, ad revenue, ad revenue. You know, and it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, you know. Anyways, it's just it's a pet peeve of mine because I see that I'm like, he didn't mean, and then everyone's sharing it on all their social media. Ron wants to do 10 more. And it's like, oh God, he doesn't.
You hit the nail on the coffin. We went from
nail on the coffin.
No pun. Okay, like that. But no, we went from a form of media where it was extra, read all about it, and the little kid standing on the corner passing out newspaper with real hard fact journalism to let me just throw up a title on here to get you to click on it and read my article, which is absolutely just asinine and stupid. No, he's not going to do 10 more Halloweens. You know, we're going to be lucky to get a sequel to this particular Halloween, the 2018 film. If we get that, it's going to be one sequel, and I think that's going to be it. I don't even know, as much as you and I are championing the whole anthology idea, which I'm sure we're going to dive into here shortly once we start talking about Season of the Witch. I don't even know if that's even on the table. I mean, we're talking about it in passing. Fans talk about it, that it's a great idea, but I don't even think that that's something that they've even remotely thought about doing. So 10, no.
Yeah, no. It's hyperbole. I mean, when you break it down, you realize they don't have sequel rights, to the surprise of a lot of people, not to the surprise of me. But okay, so he says we don't. But what he's doing is he's saying, but don't worry, everybody. I'm still excited about it. That's what it. So he's using hyperbole. He's going to the extreme and saying 10 more. You know, he's overcompensating is what he's doing. He's overcompensating because of what he just said. Well, we don't have those rights. Well, that doesn't sound good. So he's overcompensating just to let everybody know that he's still excited about it. That's all it is. It doesn't literally mean he's doing 10 more, for fuck's sakes. That's not to say that he wouldn't, but that's not what that quote means. That's not what he meant in that quote. Of course, the other thing about that is the sequel rights. People are a little surprised that they don't have the rights to the sequels. I'm not surprised by that. It obviously was a one-picture deal, and that's a smart business decision. Sure. Trancas International certainly doesn't want to give Blumhouse the keys to the entire franchise in terms of making multiple sequels and just, okay, away you go. Because, they didn't know how this first one was going to turn out. And if they had the rights and they had a contract that was signed, if Blumhouse wanted to go ahead and make it, Trancas might be like, oh shit, we've already oh fuck, even though they didn't. So it's probably a picture by picture deal. Yep. Even if Blumhouse was to do a sequel, I guarantee you it would probably still be a one picture deal. It's probably going to be per picture. They wouldn't have the right. If they do a Halloween 2, they wouldn't necessarily have the rights to do the third one. Right. So I think it's just smart, with the way that franchise is and was, I think it's smart that they take it step by step. So that doesn't surprise me. Although I think it does surprise a few people, because I think when they hear, oh, they got the rights to something, that means they have the rights to everything. And didn't
I read somewhere initially that originally they were going to shoot back to back? Weren't they supposed to do that? Or is that more myth than fact?
Well, no, I believe it was fact. David Gordon Green and Danny McBride said that they had an idea that they would have loved. They didn't say that they were definitely going to shoot 2 movies back to back. They said that they had an idea that would extend the story we already saw. And They thought, hey, how cool would it be, if we shoot this back to back? Can we do it? Are we able to do it? And there were probably some rumblings between them and Blum and Carpenter and and Jason Blum was the one that was like, well, hang on a second. Let's not get the cart before the horse here. Let's do this first. And David Gordon Green and Danny McBride were probably like, yeah, you're right. Let's not, because we don't have the rights to do that yet anyway. So let's not get ahead of ourselves here, even though you might have this idea. It just played out to me that it wasn't set in stone that was the original plan. Yep. It was just that the plan was to shoot the movie they did. but they had this idea in the can of, well, we could extend on this, and everybody was like, well, hang on, let's, it was an idea that they thought about. It wasn't greenlit to actually do that.
I guess my only concern with Trank being involved and having the sequel rights is, can they throw themselves as another cook in the kitchen and be producers of this? Because when you start throwing in more cooks in the kitchen, this is when the sequels end up becoming shit shows. It's what happened with Friday the 13th. It's what's happened with the Halloween series. When you get too many producers that think, hey, we got to do this. Hey, we got to do. You ever see? I think it's Crystal Lake Memories. I think this is the one, the Friday the 13th. Really good documentary if you guys haven't seen it yet. And you hear Cunningham talk about all these producers. No, not Cunningham. What's the guy's name there? His last name starts with an M. Mancuso or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
He was a producer on the Friday the 13th series, and he even talked about as the series evolved and there was more producers and more companies involved that had rights to Friday the 13th, they ended up, everybody was wanting to get their ideas into the film, and that's why a lot of the sequels to Friday the 13th turned into a shit show. And it's exactly the same reasons why the Halloween series, as the series progressed into the sequels, it turned into the shit show it was, because there's just too many people wanting to add in this piece and their little stamp here, and rather than just keeping it simple to Blumhouse being the captain of the ship, and you just follow the direction of Blum and McBride or Green, whoever's involved as far as the writing and directing goes, and that's it. Next thing you know, you have like Trank going, hey, you know what? We think Michael's hands should magically grow back.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just saying that that's just the pattern that we've come out of the 80s.
Okay. I watched Halloween 3 Season of the Witch this morning for the first time in years, and I got to say that I liked the movie. It was much more science fiction-y than I remember it, and with some horror elements tossed in. Of course, it is promoted as a science fiction horror film, but I have to admit I don't think that I liked the movie as much as I remember it. You can definitely see the anthology side to Halloween 3 Season of the Witch in terms of its it feels small. It feels very much like network television a bit, maybe like a TV film, and that's not necessarily bad, but it kind of plays out almost like an extended Twilight Zone episode, or In Search of not In Search of The Outer Limits. Did you guys get that down there? I think that was a Canadian show, The Outer Limits. Was it? Was The Outer Limits Canadian? I can't remember. Anyways, it was like a Twilight Zone thing, okay? And it kind of plays out like an extended sort of episode like that. But it kind of feels small. And there were a few things in there that I felt that could have been in, like, I'm not talking about the movie as a whole, but there was a couple of things where I was like there's a moment where Atkins' character, he's just killed Dick Warlock's character by punching him through the thing. He's got the orange slime all over his hand, and he's standing there, and the head dude, I fucking forget his name now. The head dude is standing there, and he's like talking, but they're all standing there. It's like the scene went on for a little too long. It was kind of like there's just things that needed. There were certain things that I think could have been polished up in terms of its pacing. It felt like they didn't have a lot, so they had to extend things to fill the time, because there really wasn't a lot to it. It did play out very much like a television Twilight Zone kind of episode, which is not bad. It's just I hadn't seen it in years, so it was like, okay, all right. Do you know what did you think of it overall?
I love it. The more I watched it, and I watched it, as Dave said at the beginning of the stream, I watched it back to back last night. I watched it in October for the first time, this past October, and same with you, it had been years. I hadn't watched it in a long time. And then I watched it, just to, have it fresh in my mind. I watched it last night, and I was like, wow, this movie's it's every time I watch it, I find something more that I really like about it. I think this was Tommy Lee Wallace's first directorial debut. For those who don't know, Tommy Lee Wallace was the set designer on the original Halloween and was given the reins. And I believe he wrote the script, if I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think he wrote the script to this. And he also directed it as well, too.
He did direct it, yes.
And I agree. You can definitely see Wallace is very green, which obviously eventually he goes on to direct it, where he's definitely on his A game for that. But you can see where he's very green in certain scenes. Like, for example, there's a scene there where Tom Atkins' character is watching the family getting, you know, the kid getting killed with the pumpkin mask on and the commercials being played. I don't know why he told him to do this as far as, you know, as an action, or not action, acting sequence, but he raises his hands up to his face like this as he's watching. I'm like, bro, what are you going to do when you're doing this? You know what I mean? Like, so it's like those little like moments in the movie that I know what you're talking about, that yes, you can clearly see that Tommy Lee Wallace is very green behind the camera as far as a director goes. But I think overall, when you, like you said, when you break it down of like a Invasion of the Body Snatchers, or, you know, a sci-fi type movie, Season of the Witch is a really good, fun 80s film. I mean, it's got every 80s cliche in it. I forgot that in watching it last night again, that when him and Ellie or whatever, I think that's her name, the female lead in this, when they go to the hotel, you know, they have that cheesy conversation of like, so you gonna stay here with me, or should I get another room or sleep in the car? Do you want to stay here with me? Like, okay, you know,
that was so cheesy. I love that.
So cheesy. It's so 80s cheesy though, you know. And then he goes up and kisses her. I'm like, yeah,
I know. I gotta say, that's very true. It does have a very sort of, first of all, I think the 1978, I think it was that year, Invasion of the Body Snatchers is a far superior film to Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. But it does have that vibe to it, because it's about, you know, obviously it's, you know, sort of you know, your body becoming something else, right? Even though you look like yourself. So it does have that vibe to it. I do like the movie, but it would just, I was like, oh, it's this kind of a movie. I don't mean, oh, Michael Myers isn't in it. I don't mean that. I just mean, oh, it's this kind of pacing. It's this kind of vibe. Oh, because it's been years since I've seen it, maybe 15, 20 years. And I know people will be like, what? You haven't? Well, it's just not one that I watch a lot. Sure. So when I watched it for the first time,
I tell you what, Carpenter's score in that is really good. And it's really good.
Oh, yeah.
I really like the score from Halloween 3 very much so. You know, it's definitely in my top 3 favorite scores from the franchise, next to the original and the 2018 and Halloween 4. The Michael part of it. I really like Season of the Witch and what Carpenter did with the music throughout the entire film. And I like you said, yes, you could clearly see that they were trying as much to fit in, you know, whatever it was, 88 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever it was, by, you know, dragging out scenes a little bit longer. And I think from looking at it as, you know, not to like overly criticize the film, but looking at it as, hey, you know what, for your first time out directing a movie, you didn't do a bad job, Wallace. You did a really good job. And clearly, I'm sure if he could go back and tighten it up a little bit, I'm sure he would.
Exactly. And yeah, it does. It's the kind of movie that some people have asked me, do you think Halloween 3 Season of the Witch could be remade today? That's a movie that definitely, now that I've seen it, because it's been a while since I've seen it, it definitely could be remade today.
Sure.
Or
a sequel.
And remove themselves from the Halloween property, because there is enough there that you could do that. Like because it feels like Halloween 3 Season of the Witch feels like there's a bigger, broader story that could have been seen, but because of budget, it feels like I want it to feel. Do you know what I mean? Like, it feels kind of like there's this, you know, like we want to get the impression that this is happening all across the US, let's say, okay? So what do? At the very end of the movie, they show little blips of New York City.
Oh, the montage of the kids.
Yeah, where it's clearly all shot in the same location. Obviously, they just shoot on different, you know, streets and say it's this, that, and the other. But to really get almost like an apocalyptic sort of vibe to it, I could totally see. I guess I'm trying to say is that there's untapped rich mythology in Season of the Witch in that 1982 movie.
Yep.
That you definitely that they could never tap into or expand on because of budget. And I look at this and I watch that. As I'm watching it, I'm like, there's a real great mystery that you could really play out and get really fucking creepy, right? And there's that sort of cult kind of vibe from this factory and these people and the witchcraft vibe that you could really play into and really, kind of milk it a bit more if you had the budget to do so. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, it is a good movie.
It's a fun movie.
It's a fun movie, but I felt like there were things about it that were untapped. Yeah, when I watched.
I think you're right. I think it's due to the budget. I think that, obviously, they don't have, the means that, they certainly could get to today and I wouldn't even retell it today. I would, like you just said, I would expand on this universe, expand on what happened, afterwards. Like, for example, I don't think she's dead, Ellie. I think, when they kidnap her, I think they clone her into the robot that she becomes at the end of the film. I think she's still out there somewhere,
Are you suggesting they do a sequel and she comes back?
I mean, I'm just saying, like,
listen, Tom Atkins is only 83. He's only 83. He's got another 50 years.
Yeah, I got one more in the tank. I'm just saying her character, there was never a total closure because I never felt that when watching it. When they took her, the I call them the Men in Black. I know they're not the Men in Black, but the Men in Black.
Yeah, the henchmen.
Yeah, the guys. When they take her, I always felt that they ended up cloning her. That's why she turned into a robot. I don't think that Wallace intended for her to be a robot from the get-go. When she meets Atkins and whatnot, and she's, trying to find, the guys who, killed her father and whatnot. I think later on during that sequence when he rescues her, that's the clone. I never felt that was her all along. So I do think that the character of her, now you don't necessarily need to have that actress, but you can certainly maybe, I don't know, a relative from that actress or something like that. Someone searching for clues, for answers that happened to their family, back in 1982 in this town where this factory was building these, masks, and whatnot. The only thing I would say that I didn't necessarily, and I understand why they did it, but it was the whole Stonehenge. I wasn't like totally keen on the whole idea that it was because of Stonehenge, the rock that was causing, that was giving the masks the ability to do what they were doing to the kids while they were watching the commercials. How did you feel about that? Do we pro, against?
The kids watching the commercials?
Oh, Stonehenge.
Oh yeah. I don't. If I was to make a sequel, I don't think I would, because the Stonehenge. I don't know if I would definitely utilize the Stonehenge aspect of it. I understand why they did. It's a very mysterious structure, and obviously there's a lot of interesting how did it get there sort of out there, otherworldly, fascinating explanations, much like the pyramids. And certainly I can see why they wanted to utilize that, but I don't think it's necessarily proprietary to the story. And I think there are other things that you could do to replace it.
Sure.
That doesn't mean that you don't, but I don't know if the same scene would play out. I don't know if it would. In 1982, it doesn't play as cheesy. Well, sorry, there we go. In 1982, I got my Facebook open by accident. Let me just turn those off. In 1982, it didn't play out as cheesy.
Yeah.
But in 2019, I wonder if some people are like Stonehenge, really. It just seems so like, it just seems, I guess
That's
because,
where I tweak the mythology on it a little bit. I would
yeah, just a little bit.
approach. I get in the 80s, that's totally 80s. And I get it. I get
Yeah.
why they went down that road and why that this was the cause of, the masks, being having, that, I don't know what you call it, a power or whatever it was, the controlling ability to turn kids' heads into, bugs and snakes and all that nonsense. So I do think that there is like you said, I think there's a lot that you can explore on with the mythology of Season of the Witch and any of the Halloween anthology films. Like I said, I as I watch this movie more and more, the movie definitely has grown on me a lot since the 80s. I hated it in the 80s, but now in hindsight, it's a fun sci-fi B-rated horror movie that I just appreciate it more and more each time.
Absolutely. I don't hate the movie at all. I like it much better than Halloween 5. I like it much better than Halloween 6.
That's not much.
No, it's not. I like it much better than Halloween H2O. I like it better than Halloween Resurrection. So I mean, it's again, you're comparing apples and oranges to some degree. I just can't help but think when I was watching the movie this morning, because it was this morning that I watched. I waited until this morning to watch it because I wanted things to be relatively fresh. And as I'm watching it, there were a number of occasions where I wanted more. I felt like it felt like I was watching, again, not to sound like a broken record, but it felt like I was watching like a TV episode, it felt smaller, like we're watching just an hour-long episode that was an anthology of like the Twilight Zone. It felt small. It didn't have that expand that, because Season of the Witch is all about every kid in America. They didn't really specify the world, but we definitely got a sense that it was supposed to be the US at the very least.
Sure.
So every kid in America, so let's go with that. Because these silver shamrock masks, these novelty masks are all the hot rage, a lot of kids have them. And there was that apocalyptic sort of like, it's everywhere. I could feel that a little bit, but the picture still felt very small and claustrophobic.
Yeah.
And so it didn't have the impact that I wanted it to, even that I think even back then, I think it might have been part of its detraction. I'm not talking about the special effects or the cheesiness. I mean, that's all relative. We see that now. We're like, hey, that's a little cheesy now because it's 2019 and not 1982. I'm just talking about the overall sort of impact.
No, I agree. The gags, obviously, the gags are totally, 80s. And actually,
sorry, some people. Is there something wrong with my audio? It might not be me. It might be just the stream. If you hear the stream every now and then cut in or out, it might be the stream. And there's not much I can do with that. Do I sound okay? Test. Test 1, test 2. And it could be all. And remember, folks, it's always often person specific as well. Depending on your internet connection, it might be a bit wonky, but I could be perfectly fine for somebody else. But hopefully I sound okay. Your audio is bad quality. You sound like you're underwater. Oh, I do.
I told you that at the beginning.
Oh, and then we got the badass Ninja said you both sound good. Let me just see here. I sound like I'm underwater. You're fine, Dave. Let's see here. Make sure I have everything right.
Gotta love live.
Oh, you know what? I think they're right.
What happened?
How does this sound? Does that sound better?
Hey, that sounds 100 times better.
100 times better. All right. There we go. Yeah, it was the microphone was not connected. It was the webcam mic that I was using. That's crazy. I wonder why that was like that. Oh, well, no biggie.
That, you know what?
We're back.
That happened.
We're back.
And that happened to me. It did that. And it's technology.
Well, we're back.
We're back.
It was just bad Bad audio. It was bad audio. It was the webcam mic for some reason, which was hooked in, and not this guy. So that's much better. All right. Well, let's continue. So I apologize. I'll have to make a little note of that in the description before we or when the video is processing. Anyway,
did you catch the name, by the way, Minnie Blankenship?
Yes, I did. And I couldn't help. Yes, I did.
Is this tied in now to Haddonfield or what?
No, I just think,
I think a little wink and a little nod.
I think Halloween, the Curse of Michael Myers. So does that mean Mrs. Blankenship in Halloween, the Curse of Michael Myers was actually that woman?
I mean, hey, you know, I mean, I thought that was interesting when I you know, watching it back to back like I did last night. I picked up, like I said, I picked up on a lot of small things that because like I don't watch this movie like I do watch Halloween or, you know, Halloween 2 or Halloween 4 or
right,
or you know, like where I'm really dissecting the film. But the last night when I watched it back to back, I was picking up on things like I never even heard the name Minnie Blankenship before until I watched it the second time, and I was like, Minnie Blankenship. Like, wait a second, that's you know, connecting the dots here. I'm like, hey, maybe she's tied in.
I got it. The best line though was that yeah, what the hell was it again in the bedroom? The line where he's like, oh, fuck, what the hell? I gotta find it. I just gotta.
Oh, you're talking about when he hooks up with her?
Yeah. What the hell was that exact line? We'll probably get it in the chat room before anybody else.
I can sleep in my car. It'll be more.
That's it. Yeah, I gotta find that. Halloween 3. I was busting when I was watching it. It was so funny. I heard. So it goes like this. Maybe I ought to get another room. That would look sort of suspicious, wouldn't it? What I mean is, if it'd make you more comfortable, I can sleep in the car. It'd be a lot better than this floor anyway. Oh, and
No, that's
okay.
right.
That's right. Yep. Where do you want to sleep, Dr. Chalice? That's a dumb question, Miss Grimbridge.
I don't know how
that's like soap opera. That's like 80s soap opera. Where do you want to sleep, Dr. Chalice? That's a dumb question, Miss Grimbridge.
I don't know.
Come here, bitch.
I don't even know how he kept a straight face during that sequence and delivered those lines with such a straight Again, you know, you got to take it for what it's worth because it was the 80s. And, you know, that's just, I mean, it's how movies were made back.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And
dialogues. I mean, God, you know, I mean, Schwarzenegger was the king of cheesy dialogue. You know, I mean, they didn't think it like they do today when they make a movie where
no, they don't. But I did like the Bog McFucker Cakes sends a super chat. Thank you, Bob. Try to send that towards when we always turn over to the chat room, which is usually around 8:30 or so. So I appreciate it, but don't send any more. Was it millions of kids are going to get their faces melted up by Mass at 9 p.m. Hey, what are we going to do? Cancel Halloween? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Sheriff Barker. Where's Sheriff Barker when you need him? What are we going to do? Cancel Halloween? Somebody needs to slap him in the face. You know what? Daffy Duck would slap Sheriff Barker in the face.
Yeah, and not on top of that, he was married to Nancy Loomis, who plays Annie in the original.
Oh, Nancy Loomis? Yes, who's now Nancy Keys.
Right.
But I mean, in that movie, she was, I'm telling you right now, she was a bitch. Every time where are you? What? Oh, really? Oh, really? Oh, yeah? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And for the vast majority of her role in that movie's,
yeah, she's on the phone throughout the whole movie. She has that one scene, you know, at the house there at the beginning of the movie when he walks in with those cheap masks and the kids have already got their silver shamrock mask. And then that's it. She's done. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
The movie. I mean, that's it. I think you see his kids one more time during the trick or treat sequence. You see them sitting in front of the television watching you know, what's going on, which makes me wonder, did his kids die?
Yeah, well, I think I like the ending. It's very ambiguous, obviously. I do like it that it ended like that, but obviously, yes, if you want to take it at face value, then you would take it in the literal sense of there was that one station that obviously did the station go off in time? Did it not? Is he able to get is he able to actually get, I mean, at that time, was there network was there cable at that time, or was it just the big three, CBS, ABC, NBC, and their affiliates? I think it was just the big three. So, I mean, if he was able to hit the big affiliate, the big three, they might be able to tackle a little bit of their affiliates. But in terms of like in the 90s, that would have been virtually in fucking possible.
Yeah.
Because of cable and certainly the late 80s too. But it's interesting. It's yeah, I like it. I think what I like about it is, again, for those of you that might just be tuning in, 167 people watching, I like, it's just got that small kind of vibe, but that's not a bad thing. I hadn't seen the movie in so long that I was like, oh, this is Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Right. I forgot about this. I forgot about that. Oh, I forgot that's the way it goes. Oh yeah. Dick Warlock. I knew Dick, you know, he was in the movie, but I can't help. Does anybody else, and come on, you know, you do. Does anybody else, whenever you watch Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and Dick Warlock is on screen, you know you do. You know you fucking do. You cannot help but when he walks, think, that kind of looks like Michael Myers from Halloween 2.
Yeah. No, it does.
It kind of looks like, you picture him in the jumpsuit, you picture the mask on him, and it's fucking Halloween 2.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, all the guys in the suits, when you see them walking, clearly Billy Wallace was using that as his, as his direction. He was using the original Halloween, and I'm sure Halloween 2 as a guide while he was directing, these actors in these, 2-piece, 3-piece suits, whatever they were wearing, because you saw a lot of that similarity. Besides Dick Warlock just naturally being himself, you saw the other guys really trying very hard to mirror that same type of movement whenever they were in scene or they had a scene, or whatever. And even a kill scene was you had a Michael Myers type presence, even though Michael is present in the movie in the 2 TV promos there.
Yes.
One TV promo and one, the one, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Funny. I'm going to say this. Here are my thoughts on the Halloween promo. And then of course, actually Halloween being on TV.
Right.
When he's
actually playing, so technically the Halloween score is in Halloween 3.
Well, yeah, and here's not the theme, but the Laurie's theme.
Laurie's theme, yeah.
Here's the thing. The promo on the television was cute. I didn't mind that, and I understand
the theme was playing on that.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But later in the movie, it was Laurie's theme.
Yeah.
So during the promo, I get it because it acts like it's an actual network television commercial. And actually, I believe the voiceover is the same. If you watch a lot of them, it's the same. So I get that. It was a little nod, a little wink. That's cool. I'm okay with that. That's kind of cool. So in this universe, clearly, Halloween is fictional, right? So it's not like, how my idea for an anthology was, you could, I said that maybe there are other towns, 30 miles down the road where there's other weird, fucked up, crazy shit that happens. But the Michael Myers story is still canon in that universe, even though it's not talked about, but maybe it's alluded to because you see a newspaper article that says something about Michael Myers dying or being captured or, escaping or, whatever it is. So that just signals to the audience that, Haddonfield exists in this universe, but it's 30 miles away. We don't ever go to it. Whatever the case is, right? Clearly in Halloween 3, which was their first attempt at an anthology to move the series to anthology, Halloween was fictional because you're seeing it play out on the television as a movie. That I don't mind. I gotta say though, I don't really know how I feel about when Atkins' character is tied up and he's got the mask on and the head dude there, I always forget his name, turns on the TV and it's Halloween. Why does it have to be Halloween? Did he just turn on the TV and that happened to be on? Or does it, because now the soundtrack, Laurie's theme during that remaining sort of 30 seconds actually becomes the soundtrack within that space.
Yeah, exactly.
And it kind of plays to me like they're overcompensating.
Sure.
It's almost like now they're going, there's the movie you love. There's the movie you love. Don't forget. We know. Here, we'll play this scene. Here, this scene will be really cool because we'll have Laurie's theme play and the doctor's watching that scene and you'll get to see that scene again. You'll get to see, 15 seconds of it and it'll play, and then you'll knock over the Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? We haven't forgot about all you. We know Michael Myers isn't in this movie, but there you go. It's like, why'd you have to do that? Why didn't the, 2 more days till Halloween. Why didn't that come on again to annoy the fucking hell out of him? And that's why he gets insane. And he's got to fucking get out of it because he doesn't want whatever's about to happen to him. He doesn't want to happen to him because he's got one of the fucking masks on, right? So he doesn't want it to happen to him. So instead of Halloween being on the TV, which makes no fucking sense really at all, really, you should have just had the Silver Shamrock ad. Because then that would give him incentive to hurry the fuck up to get out of that and to kick over the TV.
Or if it was because they were waiting for the national commercial to be played, you could have played another movie like maybe Invasions of the Body Snatchers. Because I know I know Wallace was very inspired by that movie to do this type of anthology film. You could have done that, just like in the original Halloween. They had The Thing, right? That's what Lindsay and Tommy were watching, or Lindsay was watching in her living room by herself, right? Right. So you could have done Invasion of the Body Snatchers. You could have done another movie. I mean, I get why they were keeping it in the family. I understand. I get it. But I agree with you. I think that if you wanted to make this a part of the Halloween universe, you should have left the original Halloween out of the equation.
Yes. Yeah. Like,
it cheapens. I get it, but it's like you could.
Well, yeah, like I get the first time they do it. Is there anything else on TV? Dun, 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 dun. The immortal classic, Halloween. Like okay, cute. It's just a fun little wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I get it. Doesn't take long. He's like, can you turn it again? And it goes to some soccer game or something or football game. So it's not needed. It's completely 100% unnecessary, but I understand the intent is very much conveyed there. Like I get it. They're just kind of, it's a tribute, right? But okay, fine, cool. Last 10 seconds, if that.
A tribute to a movie that at that time came out like 4 years ago.
Right. Well, right. But it's the same filmmakers, essentially. It's the same property. It's a little fun. It's an Easter egg. It would be today what we call an Easter egg. Okay, I get it. But it's that later stuff where I'm like, it feels like they're overcompensating now. Now, what is this? Scream? And we're seeing it on the like he literally turns on the TV and he's like, I forget what the guy says, but he's like, I'll be back, or whatever he says, and he walks away and you hear and I'm like, why is and it's like, and when you look at Atkins, when you look at him for a minute, he's got his hands behind his back or whatever it is, and he's sitting there with the skull mask on and his head's tilted a little bit and he's watching like he's enjoying it. He's like, oh yeah, fucking Halloween, yeah, rock on. It's like, why is this? Like, I get it, but it just feels like it's overcompensating. Change up the movie. There's no need for it to be Halloween. All that was missing was, you got to check this movie out. It's pretty good. And then the guy leaves. Like, that's the only thing that was missing from that. So it's as Howard D says here, nah, Dave, it was just another callback. I know it was just another callback, but it's completely unnecessary because you already had one. And when you have this callback, which is now he's watching the movie, it feels like they're overcompensating to me. You like it as a fan. I look at it and go, so that just happened to be on TV? Well, it's Halloween, and it's, yes, I get it, but it just seems unnecessary. It seems unnecessary. And when the Laurie's theme becomes the music within the actual space, it just feels it's cool because we like Halloween, but it just, as Tony said, it feels a little chintzy.
Sure. No, I agree. Yeah. So what would you have done different?
Oh, what would I have done different? Well, I think that's all relative, obviously, because it's 1982. They had a budget of only $2.5 million, which was the same budget they had for Halloween 2, roughly, 1981. So,
and 2.5 million, we say it's not a lot. Back then, it's a lot of money.
Well, it wasn't an enormous amount of money back then, but certainly it was a decent size.
Right.
And I think, I just think it was, it could come down to the directing. I mean, Tommy Lee Wallace, I mean, I've seen that. I've seen It, the miniseries, which he directed, which I actually do like. I don't know. It was his first. It was his. I believe it was his directorial debut.
It was. So you can definitely see he was green. And
there's just. I think there's a pacing issue. Characters I didn't really care about. I did care about Tom. I think, to be honest with you, the movie may have been stronger without the woman. Because Tom's he's a strong enough actor. I get why she was there. I get it. But if it was just about him, because we are more like, if you watch the movie, think of the feelings you have as you're watching it. At least for me, I'm more emotionally attached to him than I am her. She's cute. Sure, she's easy on the eyes. Okay. But I really don't care whether she lives or dies.
It's true.
Tom, on the other hand, you're kind of feeling something for Tom. We're introduced to him early on. This woman comes out of nowhere. I know it was her father that died in the hospital. But I don't know. I think if you, like, when she was captured, I didn't feel a sense of loss in ordering, like, we got to get back to her. Do you know what I mean? I felt like, obviously I know she's there and I hope we find out what happened to her, but I just mean that Tom's character was so strong that if he had just, or maybe he goes with her, but she gets killed off early, which now it's like, oh shit, because I understand that they wanted to have that twist at the end, which was a cool twist, mind you. I will say that, because without her, you don't have that twist. So right. I do get that. That's a very good point I have to take into consideration. I don't know. I think there's some pacing issues, and there's not a lot going on, which makes me think that it feels like they're trying to kind of stretch this out a little bit. They didn't have enough sort of going on, which is why I think it would have been cooler to see more things happening, maybe with kids putting on the masks or other people putting on the masks. Maybe there's an adult Halloween party. When I mean adult, I don't mean that kind of adult. I just mean like a work party for, adults, right? As opposed to kids. And maybe we see this Halloween party and there's a bunch of these like adults who have these masks on, right? And then the thing comes on the TV and weird shit begins to go down and a couple of people there it's like, what the fuck is going on? And we see this mayhem or something and those weird, creepy guys show up. It just kind of felt a little slow. And that's why the mystery aspect of it was kind of cool. But
so how would you approach it now in 2019, 2020, if you were to do a sequel to it some odd years later?
If I was going to do a sequel to it,
do you still set it in the 80s, or do you set it now? Because you could do a sequel and set it in the 80s. I mean, you don't have to technically set it, with the whole 80s vibe and, Stranger Things and everything else. It's, we've got a whole 80s resurgence here over the last few years. You could do a sequel to this and still keep it in the 80s. I mean,
you could.
You cast for sure.
Yeah.
You couldn't do the girl in Atkins again, but you certainly could do a sequel to it.
Yeah, you could. And I think probably the
80s, I meant.
Yeah. Yes. If it was the 80s would be interesting. Obviously, yeah, you couldn't have Tom Atkins. Or you just say that, no, I'm only 46, but what happened to me, the stress of what happened to me during that time was just so much. I look like I'm, 40 years older. No, what would I set it in? You see, if you set a sequel today, because of social media, because of technology, because of the way we communicate, it changes the ball game. It would be a very different kind of movie. That is one thing that I do like about Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, is that it, again, at the beginning of the show, I said I love the claustrophobic feel to it.
Sure.
I said that that's something I noticed, and that has that very sort of TV kind of movie of the week vibe, but that's not a bad thing. It's just something that I had forgotten about before watching it. So when I watch it, I feel kind of like I'm watching perfect example. I feel like I'm watching an episode of The X-Files. That's kind of what it plays out to me. Yeah. It's much longer, right? It's like a 90-minute episode, but when you watch early episodes of The X-Files,
sure,
right? A lot of the cheesy kind of, effects, the mystery, the whodunit, the traveling to another location, and, being in a hotel. It's got that kind of vibe to it. So when I watch Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, it does feel like, and that's a strength of its.
Sure.
Setting that now in 2019, it would almost be much more polished, much more pristine. And the claustrophobia of it, I think, was the film's strength. I just think there needed to be a little more happening. I don't mean an enormous amount more, because you want to keep that nuance there, right? You want to keep that mystery there and that suspense there. But it just felt like the pacing was a little slow for me. So setting it today, though, man, it would be very...
I think it would ruin it. I think because of the charm of the 80s and the lack of technology, the lack of, smartphones, because people could watch the commercial on their smartphone, or they can watch it on their iPad or their computers and whatnot. When you have the lack of that technology and you have to go sit down physically in front of your TV to see this commercial, that still would, I think that would be the approach that I would take with it. So you could either set it in the 80s, or you could set it in the 90s as well too. I mean, if you don't want to just keep, beating the 80s like a dead horse here, because that's what everybody's doing now, maybe take it up to the next decade and go into the 90s and early 90s, where none of this technology was around. And you still had, you had more channels, obviously. You had the cable networks and things like that. But that would be the approach I would take. Do you pick up from where the factory's in shambles and, someone, whatever, there's a batch of masks that didn't get destroyed in the explosion,
I probably, what, I'll be honest with you. I think the best thing to do would be to remake the movie, primarily because outside of its cult environment, not a lot of people know about it.
Sure.
Not a lot. And despite the fact that it has developed a cult following, Halloween 3 is not...
That's grown every year.
That's really grown, no doubt. But it's not the size of those who respect Blade Runner.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why I wore the shirt, is because Blade Runner, when it came out the same year, by the way, was a box office bomb. And it has only since, over time, developed a cult following, but a very serious cult following.
Sure.
And the themes and the symbolism in that movie were not necessarily appreciated at that time. It was ahead of its time. Yep. When you watch the movie now, even though it's dated in terms of its special effects, it certainly is much more revered and appreciated. Not by everybody, but certainly it's considered one of the greatest science fiction movies ever made. Yep. Which is not what it was considered in 1982. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch has the very unusual distinction of being the third movie in a series that has nothing to do with its two predecessors. So, it has developed a cultish following, yes, within the horror community, and especially within the Halloween community, more in the Halloween community. But outside of that, though, like, I think if you were to do a sequel to Season of the Witch now, you could say, well, yeah, but maybe it would prompt a lot of people to go back and watch it. Maybe. but I don't think I think there's so much richness there that wasn't tapped into, that I think you could remake that movie and I don't mean remake it with the Hollywood pristine and shine and bullshit. I mean do a serious low budget, like imagine, A24, getting a hold of that shit, where it's this psychological witchcrafty thing about, and I'm not saying deep like Hereditary. I don't mean like that, but in terms of the style and the vibe of what you could turn a Season of the Witch into, in terms of its invasion of the body snatchers kind of, flavor to it, mixed in with the witchcraft, mixed in with the Halloween, mixed in with the, and I'm not saying everything's got to be A24. I'm just saying there's certain properties that you look at that and you go, what are the strengths of Season of the Witch? What are the strengths of that 1982 film? Okay. Take those strengths, and today, who should be handling that, right? And who can take this and make it this today without going overboard? Because you give something like Season of the Witch to Platinum Dunes, you know what you're going to fucking get, a shit show. Yeah. You take that and you give it to, I don't know, Lionsgate or Paramount. The chances of that being the Season of the Witch with those subtle nuances, but just taking it up a bit, is highly unlikely. So I think it would work best probably as an independent film, but I think doing a sequel to it'd be fun for us, but I don't know if it would have the broader universal appeal that I think it would, that they would hope. That's just my opinion right now. Anyway, I mean, it's off the cuff, right?
Right. What about if in that remake you kept it in the Halloween universe by simply having a newspaper article showing the murders that took place in Haddonfield, that they were national headline news?
Dude,
reference. That's your only reference. That's your only Easter egg. You don't know, no TV spots, no, having Halloween played on, but simple newspaper, guys reading it, headline, Haddonfield mass murder, or Haddonfield murders, 3 teenage girls killed in Haddonfield. And that's it. That's your connection to the Halloween universe.
Dude, I would be absolutely okay with that. The only thing that I would not want to allude to is that the Michael Myers mask was a silver shamrock novelty mask.
No, absolutely not. No,
absolutely, 100%, unequivocally, no. Absolutely not. Okay? But I would definitely be okay with exactly what you said. I think that would be cool. And that is something that,
because I think you need to keep it in the family. You know what I mean? I think you need to find a way to keep it. Because I mean, look, Season of the Witch is the redhead stepchild of this. It's the cousin you don't want to go visit because he drives you insane, but you can't help it because you love him anyways, right?
Exactly.
That's what this movie is. And it's really good to see the cult following of this film. I mean, I just did a quick YouTube search on it. I mean, Dead Meat's got a 3.3 million views for the Season of the Witch kill count. And some other YouTuber did a thing a few months ago, and it's got 122,000 views. You never would have, if you would have said to me even 10 years ago when YouTube was first coming out, that people would actually watch videos pertaining to Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, I would have said you're crazy. But over the years now, that's beginning to change, and I think you're beginning to see that cult following of this movie. 10 more years from now, I think there's going to even be that much more bigger of a following with this film. It's almost like, in a way, it's so bad, it's like The Room in some aspects. Wiseau's The Room, where it's just this, like you said, there's story elements to this film in Season of the Witch that kind of gets chopped up a little bit, that almost feels like they're placing scenes in there just to have, minutes filled up to a 90-minute movie. Whereas if they maybe had, thought about the, story arc of Tom Atkins' characters, the story arc of the girl's character, and I understand the connection with the girl and the father and all that, but it just felt like you were talking about, it felt like the arc of each of these characters were just really kind of thrown together. Nancy Loomis, here's one scene for you, and we're never gonna fucking hear from you again. You know what I mean? Like the arcs of each of these characters in this film, it's really unfinished. There's a lot of unfinished story to be told with these characters.
Yeah, there are, and like I said, I mean, you know, when Tom's character's like, I got to go to the hospital. They're, you know, bringing somebody crazy, and you know, you sit back and you think, is he the only doctor? Like,
Right.
did he have to go back? Like, there's certain things that I go, did he have to go back? Like, he's the only, because it's not like the guys, it seemed almost, and then of course he has the Halloween pumpkin mask on the stretcher with him. You know, I'm just kind of like, nobody decided to take that off. They're just gonna leave it there. You know, and then of course he dies. So there's a murder, and Tom Atkins is just suddenly really emotionally invested. Is he emotionally invested in the murder, or does he just want to bang this chick that came in and said that that's my father? It's like, oh, thank God, because he seems like a bit of a womanizer, right? I mean, he slaps the ass of a nurse as he's walking down the hall. So
he's really a womanizer. Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
clearly a womanizer. So like, you know, you look at that.
In reality, when you think about it now, Tom Atkins, a womanizer. Yeah. Sorry. You ever watch this video, Tom? Sorry, dude. Just no. I wasn't.
But it's just one of those things where the movie felt like they were the creative decisions that were made, that the characters were doing, didn't warrant some of these characters being as emotionally invested into figuring out what was going on as they did. I think what would have been a better idea was, and this is what you would do with a remake, because you'd have more time, you'd have a bigger budget, you'd have more time for some exposition, you'd have more time to fill these things out, right? To shoot more scenes, even though the movie might be a bit longer with a bit more scenes, but the pacing would be a bit quicker. So maybe that murder does happen, and it's like, wow, you know, what's going on? And he meets the girl, and the girl's there, but they don't get involved or anything at that moment because he doesn't know who the fuck she is. But then the next night while he's at work, a couple of kids are brought in, right? And they've had burns on their neck, you know, or something, and it's unexplainable. And there's a couple other kids that come in. It's like, so this mystery is starting to build. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? And then we see him, because of his natural, maybe inquisitive kind of nature about his character outside of being a doctor, he's like, what the fuck is going on? Maybe he's the chief medical guy of the whole hospital, so he feels a sense of responsibility. He feels that he needs to protect not only, you know, the patients that he's seeing, but he feels this over sense of responsibility for the hospital because it's a small town, right? And you know, and then we get to the point where enough people are coming in where he's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, this doesn't make any sense. So he starts to, and then he notices that his children have the same masks, right? And he's like, well, what's going on? Like, hang on a sec, kids. Can I see this? The mask looks okay. Well, it can't be the mask, right? You know, and he starts to emotionally detach himself from his wife, who's clearly kind of, you know, whatever it is. Like, you can certainly add those elements in, but in a remake, I would sort of play that angle up a bit. It just felt like we got to things a little too quickly, even though I really like the movie. I do, guys. I actually do, because you have to think of it, you know, relative for its time, right? But we're talking about if we would remake it, I think that's what I would do. Kind of just, you know, milk some things a bit more.
I would also have a few kids. I'd have a few more kids get it.
Yes, exactly. The scope didn't feel big enough.
Right, there was one kid who gets it in the original movie, and then that's it. You don't see any other kid get it. Which I get. In 1982, you're not gonna really show many kids getting killed in a movie, and I get that. You know, for its time, you're not gonna show a lot of young kids.
Sure,
today, it's a different story.
It's true, but you could have always alluded to it. But at the same time, not only does only one kid get it that we see in Season of the Witch, it's in a controlled environment. So it's not even in in the children's natural environment. Like, we don't see it. It's in a controlled environment in this fake set in this laboratory that it happens to. Now, they're under the guise that they're there for another reason, which is totally cool. But it would have been cool and would have built up that scope a bit more if we start to see some kids dropping in the neighborhood. Now it's like, oh, shit just got fucking real. There's kids. One of the best shots in that whole movie, one of the best fucking shots cinematically from a cinematographer's point. That's Dean Cundy for you. I mean, there's a lot of cool shots, but one of the best shots is the silhouette of the kids on the horizon in
I love that. I love
Phoenix,
that.
Arizona.
That's one of my favorite shots. Yeah.
Beautiful. Like, imagine seeing more of that. Like, let's play up that a bit where you see these kids and maybe they're the other bot. The kids start to become bots.
Yep.
Fuck. The kids start to become bots. Imagine that shit. So your kid is not your fucking kid. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I know it, then you could go, well, that's kind of like, Village of the Damned. Well, yeah, not really. Not really. Okay. They're not aliens from another world. They're it's like Invasion of the, it's not just the kids that get it. It's everybody, but you utilize the kids that also get it too. I don't mean you have a mass sort of World War Z type of thing where it suddenly becomes this zombie apocalypse. I just mean that if you were to remake it, that's one of the things I would do is I would up the ante in terms of the scale a bit more, which I think you can still do with some class.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And I think, I wouldn't do over the top 2019 stuff, meaning what I mean is with the snakes and things like that and the bugs, I would still keep it very simple and subtle like they did in the 82 film because that's what, creeps it, makes it creepy. That's
Absolutely.
What, one of not to derail ourselves a little bit, but one of the most creepiest scenes in Nightmare on Elm Street there is when God, I forget her character's name now. Not Nancy, but her friend's name. Tina, when she has the little centipede come out of her mouth. That's one of the most creepiest moments in the movie. So like, yeah, there's like those little things that you can kind of, piggyback off of and say, hey, we could throw this into our version of Season of the Witch. We don't have to have a boom flown, where it's like just snakes and, centipedes and all that. You can have subtleties. You could have like a snake coming out of a kid's nose, or a worm coming out of a kid's nose. Like you said, you could have all these like things building up and leading up to the climax of the film of where the shit goes down. So yeah, I really like that idea.
Yeah. I think it would be cool. And if you want to keep the, the girl in there, that's cool. Okay. Because
you have to keep the theme. It's the Silver Shamrock.
Oh yeah. 100%. And I would, for sure.
I wouldn't even change it. I would still use the 80s synthesizers, because that they're definitely popular right now. You're hearing them everywhere. So yeah, there really is. It's more of, I think what you and I are both agreeing here. It's more of like, Season of the Witch is so good that really all it needs is just kind of a fine tuning. I mean, really all it needs. It doesn't need much more than that. It's just a little tune up, a little tweaking here and there. And it really is a good, fun 80s Halloween movie or horror movie.
Oh yeah. No, it is. It absolutely is. And for me, like I said, and this is not a bad thing. It plays out like a 90-minute X-Files episode, which is kind of cool. And but there's a lot of untapped potential in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
I just really wish that Blumhouse or whoever who's got sequel rights to just maybe kind of look at this and go, maybe this is where we need to go now. Like I get it. I get Michael is the face of the franchise. I understand that. And I understand that there's a whole new generation that's now being introduced to this franchise and they want more Michael. But we've also got 11 movies with, was it 11 movies? I'm kind of going off.
Something like that
with Michael in it. You know what I mean? So it's like now maybe this is the time while Halloween is, hot. Like you've said it before on previous streams, people won't go into this blindly. You know what I mean? They're not going to go into it expecting to see Michael. They're going to know well in advance that, oh, okay, this is now we're getting into an anthology thing. Okay. You can start it with a remake of Season of the Witch and then go from there. You don't have to keep telling the same Silver Shamrock story. You can go into what you mentioned last week on the stream there. Crazy dude from Ridgeville, Russellville, wherever he's from.
Oh, Charlie Bowles.
Charlie Bowles. that can be an Halloween. Yeah. There's so many, roads that you can go down now that I really genuinely hope, and they probably won't, but I hope that the studios might take that into consideration that, hey, you know what didn't work then actually may work now, and especially now that there is, we said here a few moments ago, there is a cult following, and that cult following with this film is growing every year. So I think there is a little bit of a hunger there for people wanting more of this.
Maybe I ought to get another room. That would look sort of suspicious, wouldn't it? What I mean is, if it'd make you more comfortable, I can sleep in the car. Be a lot better.
And then on top of that, then he has her in the bed, right? And like after she gets out of the shower, right? Or no, she's out of the he gets back from something, and she's in her little black teddy there, and they lay on top of each other, and he's like, "How old are you? Does it matter?" No, in the 80s, I guess apparently.
No. It was no, they were lying in bed. They obviously had just finished having sex earlier, and she rolls over and gets on top of him.
Right.
And he's like, how old are you? And she says, old, don't worry, older than I look. Because he's like, fuck, you want to go again? Like, shit, I'm just tired. He's like, how old are you? Older than I look. That's what it was. Yeah. It's so funny. This where do you want to sleep, Dr. Chalice? That's a dumb question, Miss Grimbridge.
Well, we got like what, 12 minutes or so before we go into the Q&A. Do you want to tap in? Is there anything else on 3 you want to talk about, or do we want to get into
Listen, I just want to say that watching Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, like I said, it was the first time I'd seen it in 15 years or so. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. There were a lot of things about it that I'd forgotten about. There's the things that I talked about here on this stream, not criticisms, but observations I've noticed about the pacing. Well, I guess that's sort of a criticism, but in terms of its visual style and its overall tone, and I actually like that it's has that claustrophobic feel. What I take away from Season of the Witch is really cool idea. I kind of like the idea.
Yeah.
Untapped potential.
Yeah. No, I absolutely take away from her and totally agree with that. I don't think anything we've said tonight was anything negative about this movie. I just think it's small critiques of, like we just said, there's more there that I think can be told. And I think we both would agree that if the studios were to kind of step back for a moment and go, well, let's try it. I mean, what the fuck? This is what I would say. Like, look, man, Blumhouse, you're doing movies like Happy Death Day. So, I mean, what's it gonna fucking hurt you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Flops, It's like, okay, well, then we were wrong. I just don't think it's gonna flop. I think that it will surprise. I think it'll be a nice big surprise, because I just think out of the sheer curiosity, you're already gonna have the Halloween fan base going into the movie to support it, just to see, all right, what's this gonna be all about? And then from there, if it's a good film, then today with social media and YouTube reviews and all this stuff like that, it's not hard to get the word out there on a good flick.
No, it's not. And like I said, I mean, I would be very interested in a Silver Shamrock Season of the Witch anthology remake. I would be. I would be listening. Charlie Bowles is another one, sure, that you could do. And they don't always have to be immediately connected to the franchise. Okay, well, what else have they mentioned in any of the movies that we could do something on? It doesn't have to be like that at all.
Sure.
If there's something that lends itself to that, like the Charlie Bowles thing, is just that's perfect. Okay, sure. But you can make up shit too. And I don't know. I've said this before.
I've got a few ideas that I can throw their way.
Yeah, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The probability is high that Blumhouse will do a sequel to the 2018 film, but I'm not convinced they'll do it yet. And not just because I don't have the sequel rights. I just have this funny feeling.
Yeah,
this funny feeling, and I hope I'm wrong for all the fans that want a sequel. I couldn't care less, but it's just a feeling I have. I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong. We'll see.
So, should we talk about this subtle news on Halloween 5?
Yeah, okay, sure. Okay, Halloween 5. Yeah, so take it away, Tony.
Well, I mean, from what I read this week, what was it? Halloween 5, there's some unseen found footage from, like, what is it, about 20 minutes worth of footage that that there's a hunt on for it, that they're trying to get their hands on. Is that what it is? Like 20 minutes worth of footage or whatever? Pull that up here just to get
something like that. Yeah, pull it up. Let me see here. Let me just pull it up.
Not that I think that it's going to really help the movie make it any better. But yeah, here it is. Let me just do this. And we'll go into the share so you guys can see. Share screen. Boom! There we go. We are sharing the screen. So yeah, Hunt for Long Lost Halloween 5 footage begins. I saw this article the other day by I sent this article to Dave. And honestly, you know, look, I mean, I don't know if this is just a ploy to get, you know, Halloween 5 back into the conversation with people again, to get people to watch this film again. You know, I know that there's I guess a scene where the hermit dude who helps Michael, I guess there's a big scene with him that people want to see, or that they filmed or whatever. I don't know. Because there's so many different stories on this movie and what was filmed and what wasn't filmed. There's, like they says here, Jamie's getting stabbed. And it reveals of Michael's burnt face. I mean, some of that could actually be kind of cool, but I don't think it's going to hurt or save the film. Do you?
No, of course not. Listen,
I'm not going to save the film. That's what I meant to say.
No, of course not. Listen, everybody who seems to be thinking that this extra Halloween 5 footage or these deleted scenes or these lost footage, quite frankly, they should be lost forever as far as I'm concerned. It's not, look, very rarely the entire narrative is complete. It's like people who say to me, Dave, you have to check out the producer's cut of Halloween 6. So I did. I'm like, okay, what? Well, it's so much better, isn't it? I'm like, well, no, it's the same fucking movie. Listen, look, the producer's cut of Halloween 6 gives more context, which helps fill in some blanks for you, and you might appreciate that, and you might like that version of that movie better, but it's still the same fucking movie. Halloween 5 is not going to have scenes that they show you that is going to fundamentally change everything you thought you knew about Halloween 5 to now when you watch that version of Halloween 5, or if they were to release a version where those lost scenes are in, suddenly Halloween 5 is a fucking masterpiece. Of course, that's the same fucking movie. Sure. All it's going to do is you're going to go, oh, cool, a deleted scene at the end that they took out. Oh, that scene. Oh, cool. Hey, that would have been cool to see in it. Okay. But that doesn't make the movie any better.
Like where the scene where Jamie gets stabbed, I knew about that scene a long time ago, because if you watch, and I know what scene they're talking about there, when Jamie's in the laundry chute and Michael's stabbing, you know, through the laundry chute, he actually gets her in the shin or in the leg there, which is why when you see her come out of the laundry chute, her leg is all cut up and bleeding. You just don't actually see the stabbing part happen. That, for the continuity of it, would actually make sense, because you go into this one scene where Jamie's leg is fine to where all of a sudden Jamie's leg is, you know, she's got this massive cut on it, and you don't know, like, how the hell did this happen? So, like, if they were to throw that back into the mix, okay, that would be okay. Michael's burnt face, I mean, you know, the thing that really, I think, what pissed me off back in the day with Halloween 5 is they hyped the film up to be Michael's unmasked. You know, he's right. Mask is coming off for the first time, which turned out to be nothing more than this, like, you know, freaking silhouette, you know, his face is silhouetted, and you get this, like, you know, Rembrandt lighting here, like a very small bit of his eye showing, and a little teardrop coming down on a face, by the way, that doesn't look like it went through a ball of flames and fire. Right. His face looks perfectly fine. But yeah, just to see maybe the concept of Michael's face, of what you know, what their vision of it was back in the at that time, that would be kind of cool to see. But no, do I think it's going to actually save the film? Do I think it's going to make it better? Pff, absolutely freaking not.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either. And it's you know, I just wanted to address here. Felix says they show part of the Dr. Death scene in the Inside Halloween 5 1999 documentary. Also talking about, earlier he said different fates happened. It's not the same movie. No, it is the same movie. It is the same movie. It's the exact same movie. Yeah. Okay. It's not like, look, I understand that Jamie in the producer's cut survives a bit longer. Okay, great. Well, she still dies. She dies at the hands of Dr. Wynn being shot in the head or something like that. Okay, well, she's still dead. And then I understand that, I understand that there's certain things that are left ambiguous in the original, like what happened to Dr. Loomis? Well, now we sort of know what happened to Dr. Loomis, right? And now, there's other things as well, but it's still the same fucking movie. Look, maybe it's because I don't like the fucking movie. Sure. So when I watch the fucking movie, I'm like, okay, let's watch this version of that movie. Okay. So I watch the movie and I think, okay, all right, well, that filled that in for me. I always wondered what happened to him. He was just, oh, okay. All right. So that's what happened to him. Okay. 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 So that's what happened to Jamie. Oh, so that's what happened to Dr. Wynn. So that's what happened to Dr. Loomis. Okay. But nothing changes. It doesn't change. For me, I still watch it and I go, what's the same movie? For me, it doesn't make the movie. It makes that version of the movie maybe a little more
coherent,
maybe, because some things were filled in and everybody was pissed that Jamie was killed in the first 15 minutes of the movie anyway. So now that she survives the vast majority of the movie, but she dies anyway. So does that make you feel better? Right. Or does it make you, well, she lasted a bit longer. Okay. But she still died. So, I don't know. I mean,
I never got
Felix, if you love the producer's cut, that's awesome. Like, that's totally cool. But I look at the producer's cut and I think, okay, context. I've got more context to things. I'm like, okay, well, that makes more sense now. I can understand why. Hey, you know what? They should have kept that in because then I would have been able to understand why they did that. Yeah, but it's still the same movie. It's still the same movie. The vast majority of Halloween 6 is the same. It just feels like it's the same movie, but with some extra things.
It's called Halloween 6 on the producer's cut version. They should have called it Halloween 6. Incest is the best. Why roam when you can get it at home?
Well, there's another thing right there.
And they threw that in.
And let's not forget that Michael Myers fucked his niece.
Right.
So I mean,
that right there, I'm like, you lost me right there. This movie's
lost me. You lost me. Like, so is this artificial insemination? Oh, it's artificial insemination, Dave. Really? I don't know, man. Jamie was kind of cute. Even though it was a different actress, she was still kind of cute. I could totally see Michael busting off his mechanic suit, tossing off his mask, and mounting that shit.
Well, there's another.
Who's to say he wouldn't? Michael's got needs, man. He's got needs. True. And it was and she got pregnant. Fuck her. How dare she get pregnant? She trapped him. That son of a bitch.
And remember, folks, we're talking about the same franchise that back in 1978 had a very simple fucking concept. Dude in a boogeyman mask, wearing a jumpsuit, went after a couple babysitters, killed them, got shot, fell off a balcony, and that was that. Yeah. Escalated to he fucks his niece, impregnates her, and yeah. And wait, according to this article here, there's a sequence, Dr. Death manages to resurrect Michael using a spell. That's where this franchise ultimately evolved to.
Yeah. Look, if you like the producer's cut because of the added context and a couple of the things that they
I mean, there's a couple of Loomis scenes that are cool. You know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Sure there is. But I'm still watching a Michael Myers movie that explains his background as nothing more than a fucking thorn cult.
Yeah.
I'm still watching this movie and added in that he fucked his niece. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, I'm still watching this horrendous film. There might be things that I feel better about that part of it, or that might make a little more sense. Oh, that scene was kind of cool, but it's still the same movie. So in regards to Halloween 5, when they talk about this lost footage, if you're able to see it, and maybe they'll make a producer's cut out of that. I don't know.
Oh,
producers cut out of that.
You know it's coming because
I will tell you right now that it's not. It might be cool. It might be cool to go back but that's like that. It's always cool to see deleted scenes. Sure. It's always cool to see shit that you haven't seen in a long time. It's always, it's cool to go back and go, oh, cool. And then you get caught up in why did they delete that? Okay, well, let's pretend that's in there. Does it make the whole movie better? No, it's still the same movie. Let's say Halloween 5 removes Jamie going, Uncle, see? Okay, let's say there was not that in this, and they were going to get rid of that. And instead, they were going to change it with just, stop! Who are you? Okay, let's say. Okay, well, is that better? Is that an improvement? Yes. But the movie is still garbage.
Yeah.
You know, and so to me, the fundamental narrative of Halloween 5 is still going to be the same. You know what I mean? It's still going to be the same. So I think it'll be cool to see, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, we're actually seeing Meeker get shot because Meeker was shot and he was killed. Right. Oh, we're going to see him get shot. Cool. Okay. So what? So now we see him get shot. Yeah. Right. There's a couple other things they shot too.
Well, Mike getting out of jail, right?
Yeah, him getting out of jail. There was a couple other scenes, death scene, kills, I think, or whatever. But you know, and again, guys, I'm not don't you know, I'm not saying that you're not allowed to like it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that you are more than entitled to love the producer's cut and think that it improves the whole movie overall, and it turns the theatrical cut into, oh man, the producer's cut. You're allowed to think that. Totally awesome shit.
I'm sure.
Awesome. But for me, for me, the difference, how it makes me feel about the movie, I admit there's some cool, that's kind of cool. Yeah. You know, oh, I don't know why they took that out, because that would have made, but the differences are marginal. That's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, by and large, generally speaking, the differences are usually marginal when it comes to the overall film.
Well, because you can't change the narrative that's already there. One, Rachel gets killed in the first act of the movie, which was the most asinine, dumb decision to ever make in the film. You know, coming off of, you know, the heels of Halloween 4. Listen, I'm not against the idea of killing Rachel's character, but, you know, here we as fans have, like, and I've said this before, we've invested our time with the, you know, the character of Rachel and Jamie in the fourth film. That moment when, you know, Tina saves Jamie from Michael, that should have been Rachel. That should never have been Tina. That was such a stupid decision to make. Again, kill Rachel, fine, but it should have been Rachel sacrificing herself. If you're going to do something, do it right. When they threw Tina's character onto us, it checked me out right away. Never mind the spiral, you know, shit show that was beginning to unfold with this film. I mean, we should do a video on the positives of Halloween 5, because there are good. Donald Pleasance's performance is fine. He always delivered a top-notch performance. Danielle Harris, for what she was given as an 11-year-old girl at the time, 10-year-old girl, how old she was, she gave a great performance. It's just everything around that movie, man. It's a total shit show. So no, there's no way. I mean, even if you add in the lost footage, is it going to change or make the narrative of the story that we ultimately are still going to see unfold? It's not going to change. Yeah, will it be cool to see Michael's face burnt up? Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that wouldn't be cool. Would it be cool to see Jamie getting stabbed through the laundry chute? Fuck yeah, it would be cool to see that sequence happen. The Dr. Death doing the whole resurrecting and the spell sequence? No, I don't want to see that shit, because that's stupidity. That's about as dumb as fucking Paul Rudd putting a bunch of rocks on the floor saying Sam Hain, and Michael does this. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. This is how we're going to stop him, right? So we say one word and a bunch of fucking rocks on the ground.
Yeah. And, you know, keep in mind, folks, you know, for me, when we talk about that producer's cut, again, there are changes that when you watch the producer's cut, that there's things that make sense. They fill out things, they extend things, the Thorn cults changed a bit. And I get that. But I was never a fan of just the story they were telling in general, whether Jamie's killed in the first 15 minutes or later on, whether it's more of a scientific approach to Thorn or not, whether he fucked his niece or he didn't fuck his niece. I'm not a fan of what they're doing.
Right.
You know, and so it's hard for me to watch the producer's cut and go, oh, this is so much better. I can look at it and go, okay, you know, so Dr. Loomis, okay. All right. Okay. Well, but it's just, I just didn't, you know, I have Halloween 6 above Halloween 5 and above Halloween H2O, but that's because one thing that Halloween 6 did have going for it was great use of, because I believe it was shot in Salt Lake City again.
Yeah.
Great use of the Midwest sort where Halloween 4 was shot. Great use of that Midwest sort of fall. And it felt like fall. So there's that. And Dr. Loomis he was a lot older, but he was less like he was in part 5. So, okay, that was kind of cool. You know, and I actually liked,
Paul Rudd was good as Tommy Doyle.
He was
great. He's a young actor at the time, you know.
Clueless. Yep. Yeah. But anyway, so that's kind of how I feel about it. But let's go over to the chat room. Let's go to the chat room now. If you guys want to talk about Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, let's do it. Or anything else you want to talk about. Doesn't have to be Halloween, guys. This is your opportunity to start asking us some questions. Let's see what's going to go here.
Oh.
Felix says, Dave McRae, so because you're not a fan of what they were doing overall, you're just going to say the versions are the same out of spite than actual facts when it's clear they're not? Dude, that's dumb. No, not at all. What makes you think I'm saying that out of spite? What I'm telling you is that I don't buy it. I look at it. I acknowledge that the changes were made. I just don't think it improves the movie. I said that the changes are marginal. It's not out of spite. I don't like the Thorn cult. So what I'm saying is that because I don't like the Thorn cult, which is the root, the root of the narrative, the fundamental foundation, that's what it's about. It's about Michael Myers being attached to a Thorn cult, whether you science that shit up or you don't, whether you have Jamie last until the last act of the movie or you don't, whether you have Michael impregnate his niece or you don't, whether you have Dr. Loomis literally die or you don't, whether you have more context of Dr. Wynn or you don't, it's still about the Thorn cult. So when I watch Halloween 6 and when I watch it for the first time, this explanation about who Michael Myers is, I just don't like it. I don't like where it's going. So I can watch the producer's cut and go, well, that's cool because that makes more sense. Well, that's cool. I see why people like that because they appreciate, an explanation for that. But it's like this, okay? Let's say I serve you, here's a great analogy. I serve you a shit pie, okay? And it's a shit pie. It's a pie made of shit, stinky, smelly shit. Okay. But the producer's cut, the producer's chef version of that is less shit. It's half shit. Well, whether it's half shit or shit, you're still eating a shit pie. Okay, so do you want a whole shit pie or do you want a half a shit pie? It's still shit. It's still poo, man. It's like people say, it's like, okay, do you want a slice of shit pie? Okay, I take it away. And I give you a pie that has no shit on it except a little bit of shit. Yeah, but it's still shit. Are you going to eat the pie with a little bit of shit? It's still shit. So all I'm saying is, Felix, I appreciate the comment, but it's not spite at all. It's not spite at all. What I'm saying is that I don't like what they're selling overall. I acknowledge that the producer's cut gives more context, changes some things up a bit, makes it feel maybe a bit more organic to certain moments. Fair enough. But I don't like it. I don't like the movie. It doesn't help me to like the movie. Okay. So it's not spite because I can quantifiably tell you what I don't like about it. And it's out of the gate, right? It's right out of the gate. It's the whole Thorn cult. Thorn is shit. So whether they science Thorn up or not, it's still shit to me, not necessarily to you. And that's fair. That's okay. You're entitled to feel that way. And that's awesome. But for me, the whole explanation about why Michael does what he does is weak. And I just don't like it. I'm just like, really? So it's just this Thorn cult? I'm like, oh, that's it? And now you have people who are part of the cult and this doctor from the first movie that looked like he couldn't beat up a fucking grasshopper is the lead of this cult now. And it's just like, what is this? That's me. But if you love it, if you think the producer's cut's awesome, rock on. But it's not spite, man. It's not spite.
Patrick Harnett asked me, Tony, Halloween 5 or Halloween 2018? Okay, it's a trick question. I'm going to answer it like this. Halloween 5 had hotter girls. Rachel was hot. Tina was hot. Okay, I mean, I don't like Tina's character, but she was hot. Sammy was fucking really hot. Okay, sorry. The three of those girls definitely take Annie Matichak out of the water. No offense. I like Annie Matichak. I think she's really attractive. Jamie Lee, I mean, she is attractive. Judy Greer was never really a big fan of hers. And I'm not saying she's not attractive, but she's just not my cup of tea. So if we're going to base it on the hotness, then I got to give it to Halloween 5. But if we're just talking about movie in general, then yeah, Halloween 2018, way far better film. So yeah.
Cool. Chris Bader, super chat.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Did you like the movie up until the goofy stolen Stonehenge part? Oh, I like the whole movie, but the Stonehenge part I'd forgotten about. And I remember thinking, Stonehenge? And all the explanation, I'm paraphrasing this, but all the explanation was, it's kind of like, how the fuck did you get this? Like, you should see how we're getting. And that's it. Like, there's no, so that line was written like, don't worry, there's a fucking line. That's what I mean. Untapped potential, right? I'm not saying that that's necessarily the angle they should go in a remake, but I think it's cheesy today. I don't think it was necessarily cheesy in 1982.
Sure.
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, though.
You had another super chat from the Film Addict here.
Oh, I did. Oh, yes. No, where is it? Oh, yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Yeah, the Film Addict. Thank you, Film Addict. Appreciate it. Do you guys think Cochran from, that's his name, Cochran from H3 is more evil than Myers? Also, for my casting for Cochran in a remake, I really want to see Michael Keaton as Cochran. That's not a bad casting.
Not a bad casting at all.
Was he more evil than Myers?
Not really.
It's a different type of evil.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a different type of evil.
He goes after kids. You know, Michael was going after teens. Michael, go after kids at this point until the 2018 film.
Yeah, it's different though. It's just different. It's just
Howard said it best, and that's probably the reason why. Maybe it's just because of my age now. The girls in 2018 look too young, and I agree. It's like I can't look at the girls in the new film the same way I look at, like I said, like Rachel, Tina, and Sammy from the '89 film. It's like this film, I feel like I can't be doing that, man. I'm too old, you know. Like, so I don't know. That's the only reason why I will say Halloween 5 when I answered that question here a few moments ago. That's the one of the few good aspects that I liked about the movie is that really good looking girls.
Yes, I agree. Okay, let's see here. David says, Dave and Tony, what's your favorite scene from A Nightmare on Elm Street 1? Tony, you want to take it away first?
I talked about the centipede scene. That always creeps me out. But I've got to say, what about you? There's so
well, there's a few, but the
Tina's death is definitely up there as one of my favorite scenes because it's one of the most iconic, kill scenes in horror movies. Wes Craven's genius to use that similar style. It's a revolving room that they used in like Singing in the Rain. And other movies prior to that. They hadn't been done in horror movies at that time. And
that's all practical.
It's all practical. That's why, from a filmmaker point of view, and someone who appreciates the art of filmmaking and practical and going as to be as pure as possible without having to use CGI, which very falls in line to my style of photography as well too. That scene is so badass because it was practical. And when you listen to the actress talk about that scene and how she literally had a panic attack because she lost her spacing for a moment until Wes Craven said, "Okay, we're standing. This is the floor, even though we're on the ceiling, but this is the floor." Like when you hear that, you really begin to appreciate that scene even more so because you know what the actors and actresses went through. And I think the same thing leading up to the kill scene of Tina is the alleyway. I love the lighting on that. I think the lighting on it is absolutely beautiful. But Dave, what about you?
Oh yeah, no, for me, there's 3 scenes. The bathroom scene, of course, the hand, the glove coming up in between Nancy's legs. Also, I mean, there's a lot of scenes, but the 3 that come to me when I think of A Nightmare on Elm Street are these 3. Is that scene, also when Tina first begins her dream.
Yes.
And you don't even realize that's one of the great things about the original Elm Street is that the dream sequences are very grounded in reality. They're not overly produced, overly sensational. They feel like real dreams. And sometimes you don't even know she's dreaming. And when she goes to the window and the rocks are being, flung at the window, and then she goes downstairs. Excuse me, I'm drinking a lot of water here. She opens the door to the front porch and she goes outside and she's like, "Who is it?" or "Who's there?" or whatever. And you just hear Freddy Krueger's voice. It's really deep. It's like, "Tina, Oh man, fuck, just gets me every time. I'm just like, damn.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is fucking scary. That's great. And of course, also the climactic moment of her death is just one of the greatest horror deaths in horror history. I mean, it's just so unbelievably frightening, especially that scene from the other side of Rod, is it? I think it's Rod, right? Yeah, the other side of Rod, and he's going, Tina, Tina, and they got the camera here, and you see her on the roof. Yeah. Like so this frame with so you have like his shoulder, his arm reaching up, but you also see her in the background. So it's just this beautiful line that just goes right up, and she's it's just to get them both in there, you really get a sense of the actual sort of it's great. It's great. Those three scenes for sure.
Yeah, David King here asked, Dave or Tony or both, did Halloween 5, I'm assuming that's what you mean, did part 5 ruin the franchise? If so, why? Also, what would you have done to follow up on that cliffhanger ending of part 4? Yes, Halloween 5, Dave said this before, and I've pretty much have shared the same sentiment. Halloween 5 ruined what Halloween 4 did. Halloween 4 is a great sequel. I mean, especially when you do compare it to the later sequels in the franchise, 5, 6, and H2O and Resurrection. What Halloween 4 did, it set the tone. It brought it back. You know, everyone was all like pissed off because Halloween 3. And so, you know, they wanted to make sure that Michael was coming back. Halloween 4 did everything. You almost want to say they did it by textbook. You know, they gave you with the scares and the storytelling, but there is a story there. That's what makes the movie so good, is they're continuing what was set in the sequel, Halloween 2, and they're continuing that narrative, you know, now with, you know, Danielle Harris and, you know, the Laurie Strode's daughter, and it was a really strong sequel. 5 just basically took a big ass shit on it and ruined it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, well, what was, let me see the question, Dave or Tony? Yeah. Do you think part 5 ruined the franchise? If so, why would, I've talked about this ad nauseum, David. I mean, everything that Tony said, I mean, it's because of 5 is the catalyst. It's because of 5 that Halloween movies stopped for 6 years. Okay. It's because of 5 that it was in sort of, you know, production limbo and hell for 6 years. Because we have to remember that Michael Myers came back with a vengeance. Some people liked part 4, some people didn't, but he came back, and then they brought out part 5, and they totally almost just blew everything they tried to do with 4 out of and that's why there wasn't a Halloween film in 1990 or 91 or 92 or 93 or 94, because it was like, fuck, what the hell did we do?
Yep.
And I mean, there's other reasons too, but that's one. That's a big one. And then so they're like, okay, well, Freddy's gone now, and in that time there was Jason the Final Friday, right? That came out.
Yep.
After that, and then Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, and slasher movies by 1995 was dead.
Yeah.
Okay. So then they were like, well, we can't just leave it like that. So like, okay, well. Thorn cults, and they made this movie off the you know, they wrote this film that they felt would explain everything and bring it all full circle, and they released it in 1995, but then it's like, okay, well, but that didn't do very well at the box office and was critically panned. And then because of Scream a year later, there was a slasher resurgence, but a slasher resurgence with a very specific identity to it.
The Dawson era of slasher.
Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, then they brought back Halloween H2O, which was like, oh, big box office success. And then they fucked it up with Resurrection. If Halloween 5 was better, was just as good as 4 or close to it, you may have gotten another Halloween film in 1990 or 91.
Sure.
You may never have gotten 6, which would never have led them to do H2O, which would never have led them to do Resurrection, which would never have led them to reboot the series with the 2 Rob Zombie films. So that's why I'm saying that when you look at the chain of events, you can all trail it all back to 5. 5 is where everything went. It's because of the creative decisions they made in 5 that fuck the series.
Yeah, and to answer the second part of that, the cliffhanger, the only way I would have addressed
great shit.
Yeah, the only way I would have addressed it in Halloween 5, my version of it, I thought it was addressed well that she didn't kill her stepmother. She attacked her stepmother. And I kind of would have left it at that. I would have left it more like Loomis in her, you know, Loomis is now her shrink, and trying to kind of tap into Jamie's head. Like, what happened? Wouldn't have made her a mute, and I would not have made her Michael's sidekick or anything like that. No, fuck, no. But, you know, who knows? Maybe she was fucking curious. Maybe something flipped. You know what? You know, there's so many ways you could go with it. I don't know, Dave. How would you have addressed it?
I agree 100%. I don't think there's any reason why you still keep it.
Right.
But like you said, she's not mortally, because obviously that means dead, but she severely attacked and injured her stepmother.
Right. And
she is in critical condition in the hospital on life support, let's say. But she does end up making it. So yeah, that's how you would do it. I mean, you have to, I mean, that's one of the greatest endings in horror history. Yeah. I mean, you have to keep that. And what makes that ending is not just Jamie standing at the top of the stairs. It is the anguish, and pain coming from Dr. Loomis.
That's it.
No!
Yeah, that's what sells the scene.
Oh, so amazing. A couple of super chats here.
Yeah, you got
Bob McFucker Cakes. Love that. So powerful. McFucker Cakes. Fuck. Hey, Dave, how much of the Halloween 3's failure in 1982 do you contribute to mismarketing of the movie? No one had any idea. Well, I think I think had Halloween 3 been a tremendous movie, people might have been a little more forgiving. It's not a tremendous movie. It has, like I said, it's got a style to it, and it's only developed a cult following over the years, which is great. Yeah, well, I think how much of the well, I don't know. I was 3 years old in 1982, so obviously I wasn't looking at Fangoria or
no. We were going to see E.T.
all that shit. I was too busy going E.T. But I can say that it was a definite time where there were many people, a lot of horror enthusiasts would have known that this new sequel coming out is not a direct sequel to Halloween 2, and it's going to be this different thing. But the average individual, which would have been a lot of them, remember, to be nerdy, to be into nerd shit and geek culture now it's an in-hip thing.
Right.
In 1982, it was very niche, very niche, very low key. Okay. So when you factor in who would have known about it, would there have been people? Sure, absolutely. But there would have been far more people confused and just like, what? I knew I knew Rogue One was not a sequel to The Force Awakens. Why? Because I'm up on the shit that's going on.
Sure.
My sister Jill, who lives up north, Northern Ontario, maybe she's watching right now. Who knows? Anyway, she would say to me, Dave, there's a new Star Wars. Is that the sequel to because that's not, where the fuck is Rey? Where the fuck, she's not into, take her to the vast majority of people. And people would have been like, what the fuck? What happened to Mike? They're doing a Halloween 3. How can they? He's dead. Oh, it's this. Oh, well, I don't want to go see that. So, I mean, I think a lot of it, I don't necessarily think it was mismarketing. It was just marketing the movie as it is. And people were just like, well, I don't get it. Now, today, it's different. Yeah. Today is different. But so, yeah, I think it would have played a role for sure. Frank Riker super chat says, hey, Dave and Tony, do you think if Michael never heard Jamie mentioned in the ambulance of Halloween 4, would he have reacted the same, killing the medics? Yes, because then you don't have a movie.
Yeah, I mean, you need motivation. You need something. It's like you need to and I get it. Look, from a storytelling point of view, could they have thought of something a little bit better? Yeah, but still, I do like the thumb in the head. That's actually kind of a cool death.
And that was actually a reshoot. That actually was not originally in the film.
No, I know. Yeah. You have to progress your film, and you have to connect your narrative. How does Michael know about his niece? Being the survivor and so on and so forth. That's an open debate that I've talked with so many Halloween fans about. And I agree. Yeah. Could they have thought of something better? But you got to remember something too. He wrote this script in 11 freaking days. And I'm sorry, for 11 days, he did a really good job.
Yeah, he did. He did. You change the mask in Halloween 4, sorry, to what was used in part 2.
He's not going to get the same one because he's obviously, you know.
Well, no. But I mean the same, you know,
sure.
Look, it improves the movie. If I wasn't a big fan of George P. Wilbur, really, it's too bad. It's too bad. What's his face? Who was playing Michael at the beginning of the movie? The guy.
Geez, yeah. What's his name? I can picture his face.
The guy that played Jason.
Yeah, he played Jason in one of the
Richard Brooker.
Richard, I think it is his name. Yes,
Richard Brooker was Michael. Oh, Tom Morgan. No, it was Tom Morgan. That's right. That's right. I'm thinking of somebody else. That's right. Thank you, Wes. Hey, Wes Hightower. Thank you, Wes. By the way, folks, if you have not subscribed or checked out Wes's channel, that's right, Wes. I'm going to embarrass you right now and give you a plug.
Yeah.
Wes uploads some really good Halloween content.
Yep.
So if you have not checked out Wes's page, go over there and check it out. You will not be disappointed. If you are a big fan of the original film, if you're sick of hearing about the original movie, well, then it might make you throw up. But some good stuff, Wes. I always don't have time to say that to you, but of course we think more alike than we don't, and I agree with most of what you have to say over there. It's good, solid stuff. So definitely go check Wes Hightower's channel out. Now, having said that, and I don't give shout outs lightly. Okay. So that is, it's some good stuff. What I do want to say is yes, Tom Morgan. That's right. I'd be very curious to see what the remainder of Halloween 4 would have been like with him as Michael Myers. Because in the scenes that he is Michael Myers, I don't know, there's just a different posture. Yeah. There's just something that I'm just like, I would have loved to. You keep Tom Morgan and you get a mask that looked like the one from the first 2 films.
Yep.
I don't know, man. We could be talking much differently.
Much differently today. I think we'd be talking a lot differently today.
Yeah.
That goes with Chris Barber here, who sent you a super chat. Tony, your thoughts on Halloween franchise doing shoddy mask work on Halloween 5 through 8. They had the money. WTF. I'm kind of falls in line to what we're talking about here. The masks, you know, starting with 4, it really does. Unfortunately, the mask in 4, just too pasty, too pale. You know, then obviously it just from 5 on, it just total fucking train wreck and a disaster. Forget the CGI nonsense in H2O. Totally.
Well, and not only that, there's a scene in Halloween 4. I forget what scene it is now, where there's a well, there's that, but there's a scene that might be after Michael kills Bucky. Is that his name? Sorry,
Bucky.
Yeah. It might be that. I think it is, because there's a moment where the camera cuts away and looks at Michael Myers, who's looking at Bucky.
Wonky.
And there's this, it's bright, and I swear to God, he looks like Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he looks, there's certain moments of the Michael Myers mask in Halloween 4 that looks like Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
It's funny stuff.
5 through 8, it just total, I mean, money wouldn't have even saved it. You know, I mean, you're talking about a latex mask, you know, I mean, it's not exactly, you're talking a high budget piece of, you know, camera that you're going to be using for production and whatnot. I think, I don't know. I really don't know what the producers and what they were thinking as far as when the film was evolving. I will say Curse of Michael Myers, the mask is a decent mask. It's probably since Halloween 2 of all the sequel masks, I don't hate it as much. Would you kind of agree on that one?
Halloween Resurrection Mask?
Curse 6.
Curse.
Bad. I don't hate it like I do.
Yeah, no. But I don't care about it. You know, I don't hate. You know, I'm indifferent to it. You know, and of course, you know what they say, people. The opposite of love is not hate; it's indifference.
This is true.
Okay, let's take something else. Let's see if are there any else. God, you guys are just Halloween. Well, we were talking about Halloween 3. I guess that's fair. We'll go a little bit longer because we started into the chat about 10 minutes late, so we'll go a little bit longer. Let me see here. Let's see if we can get something that's not Halloween related. There's so many Halloween. You guys are Halloween crazy. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Let's see here.
George P. Wilbur is not fat Chris Barber. He is festively plump.
I think it's Chris Barber. I think it's Baber. Barber. He was a little chunky in part 6. He was pretty slender in part 4 though.
Michael likes his Big Macs.
He does. You know, he does. He likes his Big Macs.
Favorite.
Okay, Colin Altman says, Tony and Dave, how would you do Freddy versus Jason if you could remake it? I wouldn't.
There you go. I've said this before. The only type of verses that I want to see is Godzilla and King Kong. That's it. That's the monster universe. That stuff I'm totally cool with. But the Freddy, Jason, Michael, nah, I'm not really.
I just don't. I have a video on my channel from a couple of weeks ago where I talk about crossovers and how I feel about that. You can check it out for all the details how I feel about crossovers. Let's see here.
Not Halloween one. What about Cobra Kai season 2? They just wrapped production and they're probably getting everything ready. I don't know if it's a summer release or if it's going to be a fall release, but it is a 2019 release. So Dave and I have talked. You know, we're gonna. You know, Halloween is obviously going to be a big part of Dave's channel because that's what we do. But we've talked about the idea of bringing in the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai series as it gets closer to release. I think Dave just needs to get caught up and whatnot, but that's definitely we're gonna do that.
Oh, for sure. And Tony will take the lead on that one because he knows a lot more than I do about that. But that'll be fun for sure. Let's see. Here's a good one. Zifa Production says, do you like Midnight Run? The movie with Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin? Yes!
Yeah, that's a classic movie.
Oh, I love that fucking movie. One of the best buddy, well, I guess you can't really call it buddy cop because one's a bounty hunter and one's not a cop. So, but the best quote unquote buddy cop.
That is a great movie. And the other guy there from Beverly Hills Cop. I forget his name.
Yeah. Judge Reinhold.
No, not Judge.
No, the other guy.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, that's a great flick. In fact, here's a lesson learned. I saw that movie for the first time. This is decades ago, back in the 90s, on TNT. And I was watching it, and my dad was like, I think you're going to appreciate it now. And he put the uncut version in because I was watching it edited on, for television. So when you watch it unedited, you really do appreciate it because it does ruin the movie. If you don't have the swears in Midnight Run, it's not as funny as with the swearing in it.
I can imagine. Take the swearing out of Goodfellas.
Oh yeah, Stranger Things from Skate Tune. Yeah, I'm assuming we're going to do that as it gets closer.
Watch the I don't know what network it was. Was it AMC? I don't think it was. Does AMC leave the swearing in? They're pretty good. Maybe it was, I forget what network it was, but a few years back, I caught Goodfellas on TV and they changed it. Or Die Hard 2. I remember watching Die Hard 2 as well.
Yeah.
Watch Goodfellas with all the swearing removed. And they don't just remove it. Like it'd be okay if they just drop the sound a little bit or put a little, whatever. No, they change. And I know what they do as a voice actor. I know what they're doing. Because ADR is a huge part of the voiceover industry, but it's like it'll be like say the scene in Goodfellas where Joe Pesci's like, well, you think I'm a fucking clown? I amuse you? Like they'll change it to like, what, you think I'm a freaking clown? I amuse you. And he drops like how many F-bombs in that scene, right? And everything is friggin', frackin', friggin'. And it's just like, yeah, you could probably YouTube that shit, maybe. It just is like, nah, I'm not feeling it. The swearing is so important to that movie. It's just funny stuff. Anyway, so I agree with what you had to say about Midnight Run. Another super chat from Chris Baber. Chris, you son of a bitch. You don't have to do that, Chris. Any thoughts about Zombies 3 from Hell? Zombies 3 from Hell. I haven't heard of it. Is that I've never heard of that. I didn't even know there was a
heard of it.
1 or 2. I've never heard of it. Cannot comment. Sorry, you didn't. Let's see here. Let's scroll back. Ba, 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 ba. Luke Glanton says thoughts on the final 007 film coming out next year. Yeah, that's the plan. Do we know when? Well, I don't think it'll be. I think it'll be Daniel. It'll be Daniel Craig's final.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I don't think it'll be the final.
Won't be the final.
No, we gotta get the female Bond, right? We got the female Ghostbusters. But I'm sure we're gonna.
Oh, I hope not. I hope not. I hope not.
Oh, Dave. Oh, this dude's been asking this question a couple times. Let's. Dave and Tony, what are your thoughts on Logan? I liked it. Zach. Okay. He asked it a couple times here already. I saw it scroll through. I liked it. I thought it was great. It's probably the best Wolverine film. Definitely has an indie feel vibe to it. Dave, if you haven't seen it yet, you would appreciate it. It's a really good.
I have not seen Logan.
It's basically the Wolverine movie we've all wanted, where it's not held back. It's basically, it could be like a horror movie.
Gotcha.
With the amount of blood and violence in there. But yeah, it's probably of the Wolverine trilogy. It's certainly, it's trilogy, right? Yeah, trilogy. It's definitely the best one. Of those three films. It's not my favorite X-Men movie. That would if depending on who you talk to, I count Deadpool in the X-Men universe, especially even now more so that they, you got that little blip of it in Deadpool 2. I'm more of a Deadpool fan. Deadpool is my favorite X-Men. So yeah, Dave, any piggyback off of that?
Well, I just watched Deadpool 2 last night.
How'd you like it?
The first time. I liked it. I loved it. I thought it was great. I'll watch anything with Ryan Reynolds. I think he's fucking hilarious.
Cameo there in the mansion. That was fucking great.
Yes, and I like the Brad Pitt cameo.
Oh yeah, the Brad Pitt cameo was awesome.
That's fucking funny. I like it. But see, here's the thing, guys, is that I'm not a superhero guy. So I don't know anything about the X-Men. I don't know anything about Marvel. I mean, like I know a basic knowledge where I can talk about movies and what I think they should do and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of like, I don't know as much about all that as I do Halloween or Star Wars or horror movies or anything like that. So I watched Deadpool and Deadpool 2 and I had a great time.
Yeah.
I had a great time. And I didn't feel, I'm not emotionally attached to the broader universe and whether, I don't know whether that cameo in the mansion, seeing the X-Men and seeing, what, like, there are some people that might go, oh, fuck, no, you can't do that because of this. And you can't do that because of, I'm not saying that's the case, but if that was the case, I'm just like, well, I don't care. I thought it was great. But that's because I don't know. I'm not attached to it. So I can watch a lot of these superhero films and go, yeah, it was great. It was all right. Yeah. I had a good time. And Ryan Reynolds, good Canadian guy, is fucking funny. And so
character. I mean, that literally, he was born for Deadpool.
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah, you couldn't pick a better person for that character. And I'm with Dave. I watch all the Marvel movies more so than I do DC. I do like some DC films. There's been a few good ones here and there, depending on,
depending on how you look at it.
Depending on how you look at it. But yeah, I do. I'm very much looking forward to Captain Marvel and the Avengers film this year. And yeah, Deadpool definitely is it's probably of the X-Men universe films, that's definitely my favorite. So
cool.
What about this question here from David King? Because I actually just finally watched this movie for the very first time. Dave, what are your Tony or Dave? What are your thoughts about the movie Inception? What about Sling Blade? Sling Blade is the movie I just watched for the first time about 2 weeks ago, and I had no fucking clue it was Billy Bob Thornton. No clue. I had no idea. Did you know it was Billy Bob Thornton?
Yes.
In the character, I had no idea.
Yeah. Until I knew that prior to seeing it. So, yeah.
But great movies. Inception, great movie. Leo, good shit.
Yeah. Yes, both great movies. Inception was good. I think Inception is Nolan's last really good movie.
Did Dark Knight come out after that?
Dark Knight Rises came out in 2012, so that was after that. And then after that came Interstellar.
Okay.
And then Dunkirk.
Interstellar?
Well, I
love Interstellar. Every time I watch it, I feel like I'm like 10 times smarter than
I needed to be. I didn't hate it. But I found that I love the concept. I love the concept, space-time, the theory of, relativity.
Yeah.
I love all that shit because I got film ideas and I love that shit, but I just was not emotionally attached to Matthew McConaughey. I just felt like we got there too quick. I personally, if I was going to watch a movie about that kind of thing, even though they're different, but they're similar, I prefer the 1997 film, also with Matthew McConaughey, called Contact with Jodie Foster, which I think have you seen that movie?
Yeah. That's why I said, all right.
Yeah. It's a great movie. And because they spend the majority of I get it's different. I'm not saying Interstellar is a bad movie. Of course it's not a bad movie. It's a very good movie. But I guess I found that Contact, I felt more like I was one of them. I felt more like I was Jodie Foster. I was Matthew McConaughey. And it was done so beautifully. It was so subtle. And everything was so like, I'm getting goosebumps. Like it was so like, and then it's only at the end do you understand? But it was only at the end where, and that last line in the movie where it's like, we got like 20 minutes of tape where there's nothing on it. And it's like, but it only took her like 5 seconds. Like, I love that. But it was at the end. There was this build up. I was getting like, wow, like, and learning, along the way and the concepts. And is there something out there? And hearing this thing, this contact, like this frequency come in. And I don't know. It's Robert Zemeckis, of course, guy that did Forrest Gump, Back to the Future, Castaway. He's a talented dude. And when it got to Interstellar, it looks great. The special effects are great. The concept is great. But I felt like I was detached from the characters. I felt like I was watching a movie rather than living vicariously through these.
Do you think maybe it was more because, like, I'm not a big fan of Anne Hathaway, that if it was someone else in the female lead opposite to Matthew McConaughey, maybe it would have been a better film? I'm just not a fan of Hathaway at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it just felt like Matthew McConaughey was learning about what's going on. Like, we're already, like, we don't get a chance to see what's happening to the world. We're already thrust into the world is already in the way it is. Okay, cool. All right, fine. But it seems like Matthew McConaughey goes from that already to, you're the one that's got to go up in space in like the first, like, I know it's not actually, but it feels like it's the first 10 minutes of the movie, and all of a sudden he's behind a desk getting ready to say goodbye to his family to try and, and it's just like, wow, I don't even know this guy. Like, I don't care. Like, if he dies, he dies. If he dies, he dies. But I'm just kind of like, where Jodie Foster, I cared.
Sure.
I cared about it because by the time it got to that point where she was going, you're in the third act of the movie. And I know that this is a different kind of film. I know this is about a space journey, and things like that. I get that. I just, maybe if it wasn't Matthew McConaughey, maybe if it was a more likable sort of regular guy like Tom Hanks, or he's a little old now, but, like maybe if it was somebody we could relate to a bit more, like you kind of can't help but think of Matthew McConaughey as the all right, like, he is that guy, and I see Matthew McConaughey, and it's, maybe it was hard for me to sort of feel like he's me, but I just, not that he was a very smart guy, obviously, and had a job that I didn't, that I could never do, but I don't know. It's not a bad movie. I've watched it twice, watched it in the theater and then watched it at home. But it's a good movie, no doubt. But I felt just sort of disconnected. I felt like I was never attached to anybody.
Sure. You've got 3 super chats here. I want to make sure we get the answer before we sign off. The Stacking Stormtrooper, Dave and Tony, how do you hope the final Star Wars will end? I'm assuming you mean episode 9, right? The one that's coming out here in December.
Probably.
How do I hope that it ends? With fireworks going off and Ewoks dancing. Oh, they did that in Return. Dude, I'm so like on the fence with this franchise right now that it's gonna take Dave's review for me to go and watch it, because I really have no time to go watch it. I will or talk to Dave personally about it, and ask him like, okay, should I go and pay to see this, or should I wait to? If he tells me to go see it, then I'm gonna go see it. That I mean, because right now my expectations are so fucking low that at this point I don't know. I don't. What about you? How do you hope it will?
Thank you for the super chat. The stacking stormtrooper. I will say that I hope it ends. I just hope it ends with balls. And what I mean by that is very quickly now, like I said, you know, like you've heard me say, I was really disappointed when I found out that Luke wasn't going to be the last Jedi. When he says at the end of the movie, I'm not, everything you said is wrong, I'm not going to be the last. It's like, oh, fuck off. Like, have some balls. Yeah. You know, like when he said it's time for the Jedi to end and he's going to be the last Jedi, not the last, because then it renders the whole fucking name of the movie moot too. It's kind of like, well, I wanted him to be, Yoda said, gone when am I, the last of the Jedi. He needs to be the last Jedi as we know it, we know it. Not that that won't evolve and become something else, but he's the last of what we know. He needs to go down with the ship. It would have been fucking amazing. So I'm just kind of hoping that JJ retcons that shit somehow, and Rey is a future Jedi, quote unquote, but she's the beginning of something new, a new incarnation, maybe the gray Jedi, you know, where you bring, you know, because to truly know what your enemies are doing. That's why there's a saying, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. What that means is that if you know what your enemies are doing, you can be one step ahead of them at all times. Yep. So when you embrace the light and the dark side, but you're in control of both. Okay. You're in control of the dark side or your inner dark side. You know, because you can go there, you can be one step ahead of, you know, your enemies. So it goes. It doesn't mean there's not going to be problems, but I would love to see it end where, you know, we don't necessarily see how that transpires unless they do like a 10, 11, 12, but have some balls. Like, don't like, how is this going to end? Kylo Ren's going to die. Rey's going to defeat him. And she's going to be the new Jedi. So she's not the last. He's not the last Jedi. She's the last Jedi. Oh, but she's not the last Jedi because there'll be another. It's like, it's just come on, have some balls. Have some balls.
Who knows on third?
Yeah, exactly. Like, just have some balls, man. You know, end it with some meat. In JJ, I trust. We'll see.
You got two more.
Okay, Bob McFucker Cakes. Dave, where did you get the Nick Castle Dr. Pepper hat? Oh, I got it on. Yeah, it's sitting back there. I should have worn that today. I forget the name of it's a website, but it's like a
blanket type.
Yeah, it's that guy. It's a guy, but he's a cool guy. He was at the 40th anniversary, convention as well, selling those hats. I forget the name of the site. Damn it. Let me see if I can find it. Shoot me a message on Facebook and I'll see if I can find it or tweet me or something. I don't, it costs, I think it's about $30 maybe or something. Maybe it's a bit less than that. I forget the name of it. Chris Baber says, can I send Tony an authentic Myers mask for his background? Seriously, I'll send this shit tomorrow. Ooh, wow. Well,
I'll tell you what, Dave has a P.O. box. Since Dave's running the show and the channel here, Dave, is it public, the P.O. box?
It is, yeah.
So why don't you, Chris, send it to Dave's P.O. box and Dave can definitely get that forwarded down to me at some point.
Yes.
Deal?
Yeah. Yeah. Can do that if he wants to do that.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. What kind of mask is it? You should
what kind of mask are you sending?
Send Tony some photos.
Yeah. You can send it to me on Instagram.
Yeah. Okay, and I think that's the last of the super chats, is it?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we got everybody.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for Tony and I on this episode of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. We could be here all night, but we like to keep these things tight and, you know, within reason, because if your stream is 8 hours long, nobody's going to fucking listen to that shit. So we appreciate you tuning in. Again, if we didn't get to your questions, it's not personal. There's just a lot of them. Eventually, you will be answered, no doubt.
Maybe one night we'll do a dedicated show for 2 hours, or it's just all questions for you guys.
I think that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Listen, next Sunday night is the Oscars, so Tony and I will probably move the show to. Are you okay to do it Monday night again?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I don't want to try and compete with the Oscars. I'm moving.
Much competition because I don't think anybody's watching it this year.
That's true. That's true. But we'll move our show to next Monday night again. Tony and I tend to alternate between Sunday and Monday, depending on what's going on. But because it's the Oscars, I figure let's just move it to Monday. Because so it'll be next Monday, 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on this channel. Don't know what the topic will be yet, but as usual, we like to sort of wait till the end of the week in case there's any big news that drops. But you guys will definitely know by the end of next week what the topic will be, or next weekend at the very least. Absolutely. So yeah, Tony's description to his Instagram is in the, or Tony's link to his Instagram is in the description. Fucking follow him. If you're not following him, follow him right fucking now.
Yeah, and I appreciate it, you guys, man. Let's see. This week we had I had a Night of the Living Dead. Someone thought my photo looked like it from Night of the Living Dead. I had one from Children of the Corn. Someone thought one of my photos looked like Halloween. Honestly, I'm not intending these pictures to look like they're from a horror movie. Maybe it's just because I'm a horror movie fanatic and my mind is already subconsciously going there. But I love the fact that that's how you guys are interpreting these photos. So again, I encourage you to, it's an open community there on my Instagram page. Leave a comment. I try to respond as often as I can, and I appreciate the support now from Dave's channel that you guys are giving me here. I really do.
Yeah, for sure. And the links to all my stuff is in the description box. Again, if you're not following me on Twitter, the link is there. If you're not following me on Facebook, the link is there. Links to merch store and Patreon and IMDb and stuff. My whatever the fuck is down there. I can't keep forgetting.
Send that mask, Chris.
It's all down there.
I want to see.
Yeah, send pictures to Tony of that mask, because of course we want to see if he digs it. So send him some photos. So yeah, in the meantime and in between time, guys, we will talk to you next week. We appreciate you tuning in. You guys rock. That'll do it for us here from Toronto, from Atlanta, Georgia. We'll talk to you soon.
Later.
Cheers.